This is the moment you've all been waiting for. The best that Australia has to offer now finds themselves in a really strong position. To win, they've got to go through night after night after night to find themselves in victory on Sunday. But this, of course, would not be just an easy feat, for this is your Wilton Racing Australian Nationals here on Forever Sim Racing. It's Jake Sperry here in the commentary booth, joined by Dance Mania himself, Cam Dance. Brett Wheeler is on the cameras, provided by Dougie Beard. And what fantastic racing that we are going to have on offer for you here this evening right now. So, Mr. Cam Dance, we bring you into the conversation for what is just about to happen. We're just waiting for things to get going here at Volusia Speedway Park, the fastest half mile in dirt. And this track, you know all too well, one of the staples on the iRacing Dirt calendar.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the most fantastic dirt ovals. One of the most interesting ones as well. More of a D shape than an oval, so makes it a little bit interesting going down the back straight, having to keep turning instead of going straight. But nevertheless, it puts on some absolutely awesome racing every single time.
It absolutely does, and this, of course, is going to be a very interesting format here tonight. We've got a whole plethora of heats, 12 heats in all, which will split the 40-plus drivers who will be racing this one this evening to try and see if they can get a magical ticket. They've got to be, Cam, one of the top 29 drivers, because that secures them a place into the final night's worth of racing on Sunday. And knowing that you've got to go out here first, knowing that you haven't seen what this track's done, knowing that you don't know who you're up against, this is going to be a really, really difficult race for a lot of drivers to try and get correct straight off the bat.
Yeah, absolutely. There's quite a few names in there that look pretty strong, and it'll be probably ones that'll transfer to tomorrow night very easily. So going to be really interesting and really important about making sure you get those points to secure you into the A main and not to scrap it out in that B main.
And let's also remember as well that the final races of the night will not be counting towards those points. Those are for bragging rights. And what's more important about those final races, you'd have to say here, Cam, is the fact that bragging rights is essentially what they're all fighting for. They're fighting for the right to have the number one on their vehicle in all of Australia. There's about 5 or 6 leagues that are going to be all conglomerated together, which allows them to have the opportunity to go out there and say, I'm the best that Australia has to offer. And at the moment, you look at this first semi-final, probably the number that stands out to most people, which most people can't see at the moment, is car number 25. Lewis Hewitt could be the favourite to qualify through from this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Lewis, obviously, very well accomplished, did very well in the iRacing World of Outlaws Sprint Car Championship series in the earlier this year. So, obviously, one's favourite. Obviously, you've got Jake Maloney, the number 24 car out there as well, who's relatively good on dirt, more known for his road stuff, but he does tend to get a bit sideways and throw it in there pretty well. And obviously, a number of other drivers as well who could very easily challenge those two, or any positions for that matter.
And let's actually talk about Jake Maloney for a second, because he shocked the world. He's made what some may consider the unthinkable switch a couple of years ago. When you think about the demise of TTL Esports, something that you know all too well about, Cam, you talk about going to Trans-Tasman Racing. That as a switch for a driver is essentially like someone moving from Ferrari to Mercedes in the current era of Formula One. Yeah,
absolutely. It's obviously been a bit of a rocky road at TTL Esports ever since its demise. Obviously, a lot of drivers switching places and going to different teams and going their own ways sort of thing. But obviously, Maloney's felt that he needs to find a way to step forward, and the only way he's done that is by going to Trans-Tasman Racing, obviously, and at this rate, it's looking like it's going to be improvement, but obviously sticking on the dirt side, he's mainly with his former TTL Esports teammates at Slick Sim Sports. So going to be really interesting to see how he goes and whether that Trans-Tasman Racing join has actually helped him at all.
Well, we'll see if that helps them out. Of course, the racing action that you'll be seeing today is brought to you by Wilton Racing. They're looking to make their scramble in Speedway for 2020. Make sure you give them all the love and support that they need to push forward for their work that they'll be doing in the real world of racing. But into the sim, there are a lot of drivers here who are looking to make a name for themselves, and the point structure really does give them that chance. Of course, the first 2 heats that you're going to be seeing here tonight, Cam, are going to be random pill assortment. So these drivers who may be quick, might have a lot of work to do, might not have much work at all, but those who get lucky and start from the front of the field, they're going to have that opportunity to attack this track the way that drivers who are wanting to push through this field won't necessarily have that chance to.
Yeah, absolutely. There's obviously a number of drivers in that first heat who could very easily win this race. I mean, you've got the likes of Tom Callahan, Lewis Hewitt, Alan Tacken, Bradley Sanders, all sorts. There's a number of names that could easily win that or possibly have their night broken earlier on. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how this first heat goes and what possibly is going to happen.
Well, you never know what is going to happen around a track like this with a format like this. So what does need to be said as well is that for all of you who are watching, make sure that you subscribe to Forever Sim Racing, because we will have all racing action of the Australian Nationals live and uninterrupted here on YouTube. And make sure that you like as well down below. Likes give us views, and more views means more people. More people means more fun for the rest of us. So, heading towards some more action that's coming along. Got to keep an eye out, though, on Mia Ott in the 09 as well. She's probably leading the charge at the moment as one of those drivers in what is, I think, a very successful female revolution we are seeing in sim racing. More and more female drivers heading their way up to the top. And the more that we start seeing that, Cam, the more that we can say that sim racing is probably one of the most diversest and one of the most collective platforms that you can find.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a handful of females out there that are starting to come out of the woodwork, and you aren't really expecting it, and it's really shaking things up. I mean, obviously, you've got the likes of Mia Ott, Rebecca Pauline, Emily Jones, and a number of other names, and it's just really shaking things up and making it so diverse, like you said. So, really, really good to see, and probably going to be really interesting to see how Mia goes tonight, that's for sure.
It certainly will. And let's talk about track conditions as well at the moment, because it is a cold track. We are seeing just 20 degrees, 19 degrees in the air. And of course, our in-sim time is 7:15 at the moment in the evening. So this track will descend into darkness the longer that this event goes on. Winds coming in from the north at 11 kilometers an hour. So what has to be talked about here in Barberville, Florida, is the fact that this track as well will be changing with the iRacing dynamic track. There will be a cushion that will build up on the outside. There will be a case of trying to find where the grip is. And of course, with the format that this session's running in, just a full qualifying setup instead of just fully racing, these drivers are going to be trying to find where the grip is. It will change throughout the night, through every single heat.
Yeah, absolutely. And it changes at an absolutely very quick rate. I mean, every single lap you're having to search for a grip and making sure you're not ending up in the slick, because you don't want to go backwards, especially with how competitive this field is. So you're really going to have to be on your A game and watch what the track is doing every single lap and every single heat.
And every single heat will be vital. Let's talk about those drivers, though, who will be racing tomorrow night when it comes to the second round, or the second semi-final, I should say. And what has to be crucial is those drivers who are watching in, who are looking at the field, who are sizing up their competition, they're going to try and get as much of an understanding as possible of what this track can do. The fact that these drivers here in this first heat have to go in blind, would you say that's a disadvantage to them?
Can be sometimes, but most of the time it can also somewhat advantage you, because while you know what the track's done, well, while you haven't known what the track's done in terms of driving on it, you have been able to see what it has done in terms of where everybody's been running to find the fast parts of the racetrack and where the track may be going in terms of direction. Is it going to the high side? Is it starting to go to the low side? You're able to really analyze what everybody on track's doing and use that to your advantage, so that when you do go on track, you already sort of know what to expect when you go out there and where you want to be running, so that you're not completely lost and ending up going into turn one bit too sideways.
And you can always find yourself going a little too sideways from time to time. We are just moving ourselves over there. Drivers here have just had a team briefing, or a driver's briefing, right now here at the track at Volusia Speedway. So what's next going to happen in terms of our schedule is we are going to be heading over to our hot lapping sessions. This is the chance, Cam, for those drivers to get a couple laps in, feel the track. How is this track going to respond? Where am I finding the grip? Is my setup what it needs to be? This is where drivers are looking to try and get themselves out. They'll run probably about 5, 6, 7, 8 at a time, and they'll look to make some pushes and try and get themselves 2, maybe 3 laps in to see, okay, this is effectively our rally shakedown.
Yeah, absolutely. Track isn't too worn at the moment, obviously. Slightly used at about 7%, so it's pretty tacky out there and going to be a lot of grip and going to be very fast as well. So wouldn't expect too much of what to do in terms of setup. Obviously, you want to be having a little bit of a looser setup just to help you get through those corners and have the car a little bit freer. But as you start to see the track slick up and the night go on, you'll probably find a lot of drivers will start to tighten the cars up just so it's not wheel spinning into the corner or having to end up getting a bit too sideways into the corner and losing speed. So really going to be interesting to see how this track develops and what sort of lines we're possibly going to see, especially for the likes of these heats.
It's going to be incredibly interesting. We can just for you just have a little look, and we're just getting word in about our first heat and talk about a little shock that's going to be happening. According to our first heat, we're going to get Hewitt and Callahan in the same heat. So Cam, as someone who understands the world, the sphere of iRacing's dirt game, there's some of the best drivers in the world do come from this Australian peninsula. Of course, I'll count you yourself as a New Zealander, but we got ourselves Callahan and also Hewitt in the same split. And there's arguably only a handful of drivers who can say they're better. One's in the other night's worth of racing, and the other one is probably the best in the world at the moment in dirt, being Alex Bergeron. That just shows you how strong this field is.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a handful of drivers who right up there in the world. I mean, you've got the likes of Hewitt, you've got the likes of Tim Ryan, you've got the likes of Alex Bergeron. That's automatically 3 black stripe drivers and 2 world champions even. So it's an absolutely stacked field as far as what sort of, in terms of talent we've got here in this event. And yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting to see who's going to come out on top.
We will just clarify that Alex Bergeron will not be racing for the fact that he is a Canadian. But for the time being anyway, just getting ourselves just the final preparation sorted before we head ourselves over to hot lapping prowess at the moment. And it is worth talking about as well here, Cam, the fact that this is going to be a tough lot of 10 laps. It will be 10 laps for all the heat racing that we will be seeing for the initial start of the racing that we've got. And then our B main will be 12 laps, and our preliminary A main here for tonight will be 20 laps worth of racing. It is worth talking about the format because it is not all over and done with if you don't make it into the top 16 drivers who will make it to the A main if you're looking to try and get bragging rights, because those from the B main will take the top 4 and they will go to the back of the grid for that A main, as is traditional with this style of racing. So what you are going to see is drivers maybe getting more time on the track, maybe getting more used to things, as we are just about hearing that we're about to get our first lot of hot lappers to come out to track.
Yeah, going to be really interesting, obviously, to see who actually does end up in that B-main. I mean, for all we know, it could really end up being a very stacked B-main and going to be a really interesting race. But yeah, these hot lappers are going to be very interesting. I mean, as you're seeing them start to roll out, a few names out there that you could really look at and go, they've got a solid chance at doing well tonight, but also a few guys out there that could possibly spoil the fun.
And it's also worth talking about this. This is where you set the pace. If you want to showcase you've got pace, you start doing it now here in the hot laps. Bowden is the first driver out on track, and you will see towards that left-hand side of your screen, that's going to be where we see the fastest times happening today. Normally, we'd use that to track all of your positions, but this is where all the pace is going to be seen, as Bowden just sets a casual 30 and casual 19.4 as we are green, and we're looking to get those first big laps that are coming in. Likes of Josh Wilton looking to get times, Troy Price. This is where we see who's got what as pit lane gets closed, and we get ourselves looking at who is fastest. Brad Sanders, second quickest overall.
So far, Roy Boyden, the quickest one out there at the moment, which is very surprising before Matt Hartley goes straight to the top. Actually, Harry Stewart and then Bradley Sanders. So everybody's starting to put him some very good times at the moment. Sanders, very well known for what he did in the Australian Sprint Car Championship Series not too long ago that was hosted on SimSpeed TV. So obviously got a lot of pace in that car at the moment. Going to be one to watch, that's for sure. And really one who's going to probably be up there or thereabouts.
And these lap times fly by. They're just 13 seconds and a bit of spare change that you'll be seeing as they're mainly pushing down on that low line to begin with at the moment. Checkered flag comes out then for the first hot lappers. Sanders sets the pace then on a 13.169. Bowden second on a 13.186. Joshua Wilton just a thousandth of a second behind and a tie with Harry Stewart. That just shows you how strong this field is. 3 drivers, 1,000th of a second.
Yeah, and that 1,000th is not necessarily easy to find either. I mean, when you've got those sort of gaps, you're looking for the smallest amount of increment. It could be as simple as being half a tyre or a tyre to the left or to the right of the track of the line you're running. It's insane when you've got those sort of gaps because you don't know where to find the extra time. And as a driver, it can be so frustrating, but it can also be so satisfying because you know you've got that pace.
Yeah, you certainly do have that pace. We are unable to showcase to you the times that are going to be on the screen, but we can tell you what those times are. 13.169, the benchmark at the moment. The second lot of drivers then making their way out, and those include Rusty Gregory, Shannon Jordan, Craig Dunn, Brady Baldwin, Kevin Bomford, and Ricky Cornwall, as well as Darren Parmiter is going to be getting out on track as well. So these are the second lots of drivers that they're going through, and that track state as well will be changing. So when they're going for their hot lap runs, they might have to take a line that is slightly different to what was maybe a greener track than there was originally.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, handful of cars out there just earlier doing few laps. It's looked like it slightly changed the inside of the track. Obviously, a bit more of the looser dirt and marbles on the outside of the track from obviously those who've just completed their hot laps. But it's looking like that inside's just starting to slightly dry up a little bit, and obviously a little bit of slick on the entry to turn 1 as well from what I can see. So that track's starting to take its evolution and really going to make things interesting, especially come the end of the hot laps here and what the track could possibly look like.
Certainly will, and these hot laps are about to start as lots of times will start trying to find their way in. We won't see representatives straight away, but you soon will. Ricky Cornwall on 13.5, Parmiter 13.393. That puts him a little bit down the order, needing to find maybe a bit of time. That first group maybe just that little bit quicker, but as we say that, Craig Dunn moves to the top on a 13.130. He now sets the pace at the top, with Brady Baldwin just a little down the order on a 13.303. So Craig Dunn showing everyone how to get it done.
Yeah, for sure. Craig's very, very accomplished driver, well known in the Aussie and Z community and also the American community as well on the dirt side. Not too bad of a peddler himself, so another driver who might want to keep an eye on. But that track, looking at turn 1, it's getting slicker and slicker, and there's more rubber going down. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this track looks at the end of this hot laps, because looking at the way it's been developing, it's going to get really slick down at turn 1.
And right at the end, as the checker comes out, Shannon Jordan moves up to third on a 13.177. So that really just tells you that there is pace in this track and drivers are searching for it. So that's 2 drivers up inside of the top 4 from this group. Ricky Cornwall was third best on a 13.226. That's good enough to put him 7th overall for that one. So not bad at all as the times are changing. One driver who didn't manage to get an amazing time out there was Rusty Gregory on a 13.9, but could be just trying to hold something back potentially here, Cam, for the next stage of racing.
Yeah, it's not always uncommon that you do see someone possibly running on slightly more fuel or trying to run a slightly different line, which does cause their lap time to be a bit down the order compared to what everybody else is doing. So probably going to be interesting to see what Rusty can do come the heats and whether he's actually got some decent pace or whether he possibly could be struggling.
Well, a lot of drivers could be struggling, and everyone is looking to try and make this push to showcase exactly what they are going to be made out. The next group that's coming out on track includes Joel Battelle, Vince Romeo, Jake Maloney's going to try and prove what he's got. Jason Brown, Matt Reed, Danny Vassell there, as well as Simon Ferris looking to put some times in on the board. So we'll see how they all play out as they look to make their lap times seem like they will definitely count, as they are going to make their pushes in the next minute or so to showcase just what they are going to be capable of. And of course, they're just going to give themselves just a little bit of time just to hold out, and they maybe need to be a little bit careful about letting the tyres cool down maybe a little bit too much, Cam, on their outlaps, because it does take time, especially on a cold track, to get that heat into the tyres.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, with this track being dirt, there's quite a bit of moisture in the track, so it does tend to take the temperature out of the tyres a bit more than you normally would have on, for example, road sort of racing or oval racing, where you've got that heat of the track and obviously the heat of the tyres being built up from so much load. But really interesting times coming in so far. A couple starting to move up the order. We yet to see a proper representative time, but looking like everybody's not doing too bad for times.
Oh, I've just seen Matt Reed just clip the wall ever so slightly heading into 3 and 4, which is not going to be too helpful at all. We've seen that track just get quicker and quicker as runs go on, as drivers look to build up those momentums to some times, as Joel Battelle does a 13.342, Maloney on a 13.2 at the moment, trying to make some pushes up through the order. So these drivers maybe not finding it as easy as the other drivers to put in a big lap time. 13.202 as Danny Vassell runs just a little bit wide. That will compromise his next lap as well, because he had to get off of the binders, and he is ragging against the track trying to find it, as the checker flag will come out as Joel Battelle moves on to a 13.252 to make that push. Maloney the best of the lot, but crucially that group really struggled in that session. Driver best in that was Maloney, and could only manage himself 7th position overall. So maybe that group are going to try and find a little bit tougher here, the work that's going to go on here in the sessions.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, you can start to see the track having quite a bit more rubber down and a bit more slick than the previous 2 sessions. So the track really evolving a lot ever since that first session. And as more and more cars are starting to drive over it, the more and more dirt's getting pushed up towards the outside wall. So we'll see how this next group goes and what sort of times we could possibly see from them, because see, a bit more slick doesn't necessarily mean quicker. It can sometimes mean, or usually means slower. So really going to have to keep an eye on these lap times.
Yeah, they're going to have to be absolutely on it when it comes to these lap times, and they understand and they know exactly what they're capable of. These lap times, by the way, in these positions, they will be up on your screen for as long as these hot laps go on. From there, we're going to move that graphic away, because after that, there's going to be just a little bit of confusion, we believe, by seeing fastest times and not representative positions. Drivers on track include Rob Kinnear, Trent Gosley, Brendan Hutchins, Tristan Yelland out on track as well. So it's only those 4 that are going in, and those are some of the final drivers that are looking to get themselves out on track and to showcase just what their laps are going to be capable of. So we'll see that how they go in terms of their times, their laps, their pushes. So this could be very interesting to see who will make it through the magical 29 that we are going to be seeing. Green flag will drop on this, what we presume to be the final one of these hot lap sessions, and we'll see what times come up on the board as they get on to full speed.
Yeah, going to be really interesting to see what this final session is going to provide in terms of lap times. A couple of drivers out there are looking relatively good for pace usually, but we've seen in dirt racing anything, and it usually does happen. So lap times will start to pile in now as drivers are starting to complete their first proper flying lap. Interesting to see a lot of drivers starting to run a little bit high. I was trying to avoid that slick on the inside of the corners, which you're starting to see a little bit more of as the track wears in, and you'll start to see that probably start to climb up the racetrack, just start to move towards that outside wall.
Yeah, and that outside wall becomes more and more scary the longer that this goes on. Trent Gosley on a 13.4 as we're seeing these times start to come down. Rob Kinnear on a 13.3 as we look at the likes of Tristan Yelland on a 13.4, and Brendan Hutchins, clearly the quickest of the lot, on a 13.324, and not finding much pace more. So that track has really deteriorated, maybe a couple of tenths of a second as the checker comes out for the final time. They're finding times late. Gosling moving up to a 13.410, Kinnear up to a 13.312. And just looking at the other drivers, Yellen getting a 13.4 and another 13.4 for Brendan Hutchins. So finding themselves pretty much middle of the pack, mid to late pack, some of these drivers. So these will be some of your bubble drivers that you'll be looking at. These are the drivers who will have a big push to try and showcase exactly where they are. For classification then on who was quickest then through the hot lap session, it was Craig Dunn who got it done on a 13.130. Bradley Sanders second, Shannon Jordan in third. Boyd Bowden is the fourth fastest with Josh Wilton and Harry Stewart tied fifth and sixth. Jake Maloney in seventh, Ricky Cornwall eighth. Joel Buttell, 9th fastest, and 10th fastest would go to Matt Hartley, which just shows you here, Cam, just how interesting things can be.
Yeah, absolutely. And those top 10, not even separate by 2/10 of a second. So it's a very, very competitive field, and the entire field separated by just over 4/10 of a second. So it's a really, really close field and going to be some very close racing come the heats and possibly the feature and B mains. So really, really looking forward to it, and really going to be looking forward to seeing who comes out where.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting thing. But before we find ourselves then towards racing action, we're going to get a handful of drivers out on track very, very soon. We'll allow them just a little bit of time to form up out on the circuit. Just a couple of drivers for this one as we get ourselves prepared, as we get the flags running in just a moment's time, as we just wait for one driver to catch up. That driver catching up is Lewis Hewitt, who very interestingly decided to not run when it came to the hot laps here. So really keeping cards close to the chest. But we're ready to play here for the Australian Nationals, the Australian National Anthem. Yeah, and there we see the national anthem there being played and finished here for night one's worth of action. But we are getting ourselves very much ready for racing action that will be happening very, very soon with this. And the first heat that will be heading off, and Lewis Hewitt instantly getting onto the noisy pedal, just showing, yeah, I've got a bit of pace. I may be very lax and casual moving around the track, holding or bearing the flag, so to speak, but very much able here, Cam, to say, well, I've kept my cards the closest to the chest out of everyone. You've all shown what you're able to do. The only other two drivers who are not able to showcase what they were able to do, Jackson Callow and Mia Ott. So those two in a position to say, well, I'm happy to sit and wait. I'm happy to look at this and go, well, I'll let everyone else set their times. I'll just save what I'm able to do for the track.
Yeah, absolutely. It's usually the case. Sometimes you'll see drivers sit out hot laps or practice and just look at what the track's doing or see what other people are doing in terms of lap time and what they might be able to learn from it. So going to be interesting to see what obviously Jackson and Mir can do. And obviously Lewis, very experienced, as we said earlier, having raced in the Outlaw Championship Series for a season now, and we'll see previous other Australian events, and does very well. So there's plenty of experience in terms of what the track's doing, and doing any sort of practice laps is not really necessary for him.
And what we're able to do is show you the first heat grid that is going to be heading up right now. And at the front of said grid will be Mr. Price, who will find himself at the very, very front. Following Price, though, will be Bowden. Stewart will start from third, Hewitt from fourth. Then you got Troy Atkins. Tacken, we believe, may not be able to make it to the grid. Callahan also having his own issues. And then you got Clark, Sanders, Hartley, Walton, and Callow. Those are the 12 that are scheduled to be on the grid. Of course, some drivers may not have made it, quote unquote, Cam, through scrutineering.
Yeah, it's got a couple of drivers missing. Obviously, the likes of Tom Callahan and Alan Taken, two probably big names who aren't actually here tonight. So gonna miss out on moving it through to the finals night and tomorrow night as well. So really, really unfortunate for those two, as they would have stood a very good chance of actually doing quite well against the likes of the field who are in here. But there's quite a few drivers in this field, the likes of Harry Stewart, Lewis Hewitt, Troy Atkins, Bradley Sanders, Matt Hartley, all Joshua Wilton, and even Jackson Callow, all could stand within a chance of possibly getting through to that A main, or scoring enough points to get through to the A main eventually.
They certainly could, and of course with less drivers means more chance to get to the A main. Troy Price will have control of the field for the first race here on Forever Sim Racing, and that is going to be key. Who will pick up the first ever win on broadcast with us as we're getting ourselves ready to go green? 10 laps worth of action. Any caution will add on to the lap, so keep that in mind as we just wait and wait and wait and wait a little bit more as they just try and get themselves up into formation. We may just go around one more time to make sure that we are all okay. And Cam, this long wait is really just going to play on the minds of these drivers. They know they're itching to get going.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody will be itching to get going. But what this is also going to do is it's really going to provide some drivers who were possibly out in sessions earlier or haven't yet had track time like Lewis here, give them a chance to roll around and just see what the track's done, see where the line is and where to avoid and where to possibly they could run, just to give them an idea of where they could possibly find some pace or make some overtakes.
We're just getting the word from our chief steward here, Clint Smith, that we'll be heading ourselves one lap around before we get ourselves to 10 laps worth of racing. They just had to shuffle out the grid ever so slightly just to make sure that everyone was in position. Of course, with a few missing names, everyone gets a little bit of a bump, a little bit of a promotion, so to speak. So how will drivers defend this one? Troy Price has got to defend that inside early to get going. Of course, 10 laps, very much a sprint, not much time to go out there and get some times. You've got Bowden there looking to make some pushes. Lewis Hewitt will want to show his pace, and every driver wants to be up there. Harry Stewart looked very good in qualification as well in the hot laps. So we'll see just how this changes. It looks stacked, and we'll see how that plays as they take 3 and 4 at the fastest half mile in dirt at Volusia Speedway. Green flag drops, and let's get ourselves 10 laps worth of racing, and already contact as they head themselves through, and that's the middle of the line. That's Stewart running into troubles. They go 3 wide in the middle looking for it. Bowden, though, in control of the field at the very, very front as he takes high line, going through a lap already completed.
Yeah, good battle in that final podium position spot between Troy Price, Harry Stewart, Lewis Hewitt, and believe that is also Joshua Wilton. So about a 4-way scrap for the final podium positions, and just inside that top 5, all going off at the moment. Hewitt trying to make some ground up on Joshua Wilton, who's just pulled a slide job, and Toby Price not quite able to get it done, but Hewitt's going to drive it straight underneath of Wilton and at Price at this point, going to do a massive side job into turn 3 and 4. Going to be on the outside. They're going to be 2 by 2 through into turn 1. Hewitt's going to be driving around the outside of all of them, so he'll move into second position with Wilton also coming through, and also Jackson Callow. So really getting mixed up this field.
Certainly getting mixed up, and already we're seeing here how laps are ticking away, and we've already gone through half of those said laps as they've battled. Hewitt getting through. Callow now up into third position. Troy Price fourth. Wilton looking for the up and under move as he gets the slide job going, as he makes that position work. So there we go, searching for grip there in fourth position. Then you've got the likes of Stewart, Atkins, Sanders there at the back, starting to struggle just ever so slightly, but it has been complete control from Boyd Bowden at the front of the field with just a couple of laps to go. Big on the high side goes Wilton. It's just a handful to go here, Cam.
Yeah, only a handful of laps to go in this heat race at the moment. Couple of guys just in the back of the pack fighting for positions in the minors, and it's looking like Troy Price is coming under attack from Harry Stewart and also Todd Aikens, all scrapping out for those minor positions at the moment. Bit of contact between Troy Price and I believe that was Harry Stewart. Yes, it was. So all going off in that back of the field, and it's really heating up at the moment of contact between someone else.
Oh, it's two in the back. That's Sanders who's gone and Troy Price is the other as they get themselves through. White flag comes out. 1 lap to go. Lewis Hewitt looking to try and get past Boyd Bowden. He had a tough start, but he's done well to fight this one back. But it's going to be very much middle of the road driving, little defensive, and there's a big push to the line, but it will be Boyd Bowden who will pick up the victory then from all of that. It will be Lewis Hewitt who takes second position. It's Jackson Callow third. Josh Wilton will take fourth position. Harry Stewart gets the top 5. Atkins sixth. Sanders gets seventh. And Troy Price, who started at the front, ends up at the very back. But Boyd Bowden managing to be able to pick up the big victory then from all of that. And Cam, that is massive in terms of the long and short.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a very scrappy race, especially at the end of that race where everybody was sorting themselves out at the back of the field. And then earlier on, where you had that 5-way battle for pretty much the podium positions, it was all going on. And it's one way to start this night off, that's for sure.
Very much a way to start off. So confirmation then Boyd Bowden does pick up the victory with Callow getting with Hewitt into second and then Callow into third. Wilton, Stewart, Atkins, Sanders and Price. The way that this field goes, that is one heat scored, and it happens just like that, Cam. And you know when it happens just like that, things can get very, very heated very, very quickly as they all battle. Just want to try and speak to one of the drivers first and foremost, and we're going to bring into the conversation Jackson Callow. Jackson, thank you for joining us here on Forever Sim Racing. You were up there towards the rear of the field, but had a really good push there to get up into third.
Oh yeah, cheers. I misjudged the starting time and rocked up half an hour late, so missed qualifying. But yeah, I was happy with my heat.
Well, very happy with the heat. How's the track feeling out there? Because it seems that it was very much a case of it's going away quite quickly and you're sort of searching for grip here and there. A lot of drivers seeming to take to the low side to start.
Yeah, the low side was on early and then sort of dropped off as the race went on. So it won't be too long until people will be moving on to the top.
And a nice break for you now as you head your way over to your second lots of heats, which will be in around 5 or 6 or maybe even 4 or 5 heats time. So sitting in a good position for you, a chance to eye up the competition, so to speak.
I'd like to hope so, mate. I'll just let it see how it unfolds.
Well, we'll see how it does. Jackson Callow getting himself then onto the podium as we now look towards our second heat, which happens just that quickly. So it'll be Dylan on pole position with Gregory on the outside. Then you've got Jordan and Furler, Bomford and Parmitter, Dunn, Hewitt, Gow, Hall, Cornwall and Baldwin. So those drivers will be looking to try and make those pushes. A different Hewitt, of course, M Hewitt compared to L Hewitt, but again, we're expecting a couple of drivers not to make here and not being able to make it through scrutineering. But Cam, a very solid first race, just one little incident towards the back of the field, but really clean and really aggressive racing. Drivers making those up and under calls, making those big pushes and showcasing exactly what they needed to.
Yeah, absolutely. With a lot of points on the line, you really got to make sure that you try and be aggressive, but at the same time, you're not too aggressive. It's a very fine line between obviously putting it in the fence or ending up with a crash and really getting some good points. So obviously you saw a number of drivers make their way through the field and get some very, very good points towards the night's racing. And you saw others just come unstuck later in the run, which is really unfortunate. But obviously they'll have another chance to do it again and later on as well in the likes of the B-Main and A-Main to redeem themselves if they can.
Yes, and they are all going to have themselves a big opportunity to make some pushes as Brett Dillon holds control at the moment on the front of the field. Shannon Jordan, then Kevin Bomford, Darren Parmitt are looking to make some pushes. Craig Dunn might be the driver to look at here, as the 57 is very much in a good position here. Try and make positions through the field. Ricky Cornwall also was pretty strong on times. Then you got Brady Baldwin there making his way to the back, along with Rusty Gregory, who is seemingly struggling at the moment with a connectional issue at the moment. So we'll see how he will play out towards the end, as he is really struggling to get any sort of assistance together. We won't keep too much of an eye on that. But, you know, that can be distracting for other drivers as well, Cam. And drivers have to be really cautious around a driver who maybe just is taking away a little bit from their racing. You don't quite know where they are.
Yeah, absolutely. From a driver's perspective, when you've got someone who's got connection issues around you, it's really distracting because you don't know where they are and you don't know what you can do in terms of where you can place your car and where they're going to place their car, in fact. So it's really, really difficult to try and make a judgment call on what to do. And you sort of have to either take the risk of possibly ending your race, of them either not seeing you and a connection issue possibly causing you to have an accident, or just really stick behind and just try and salvage a result, because it's really difficult to try and make a decision on whether you want to be aggressive or not, especially when you've got that blinky car around you.
Yeah, and it's very much a case of guesswork for quite a few drivers, so maybe the stewards might just have to jump in on this, because there is no real guarantee onto knowing how to race that against. But keep an eye on this. We are expecting to go green this time by, and here is the green flag, and there they and go. And it's a great little jump then from the front of the field there from Brett Dillon, who's already got himself a 5-6 cars, as they got a yellow instantly here as Gregory gets involved in the instant. That was the car that was struggling with blinking. Cornwall involved, Baldwin getting caught up as well, so not ideal for the start. And there was the guesswork we were talking about, how it's so difficult to deal with a car that struggles with that much of a connectional issue.
Yeah, absolutely. It just threw everybody off in terms of what to do. And after that initial contact that happened, it was just a chain reaction, because you've got all those cars so close together and everybody's trying to find their own piece of racetrack, and it just ends in disaster usually. So really unfortunate for obviously the likes of Brady Baldwin and Ricky Cornwall, just ended up in that sort of incident as innocent bystanders, more or less.
Well, we'll just chalk up a few laps onto the caution counter. They will not be added on. Well, they will be added on to the lap, so they will go a little bit longer due to the cautions that's gone on. That's completely shaken up the field then. So Brett Dillon in complete control at the front. He got the perfect getaway. He caught everyone else unawares, and I have a sneaking suspicion as to why. You got Shannon Jordan there in the second position. Bomford currently in third, and Parmitter in fourth. Craig Dunn's gone nowhere into fifth positions. They will line themselves back up in a two-wide fashion. So that's going to be just a little bit of an interesting one then for the start, Cam, but technically a false start, some may say. They will have that opportunity, though, to go green once more.
Yeah, it does give those who were caught up in earlier incidents or didn't get a great start to actually have a second go at it and try and see if they can do it again, because it's never really good when you do have a bad start and you end up either losing positions or ending up not quite getting the jump on the guy ahead of you. So it's really going to be a perfect opportunity for those who did have a bad start to really possibly either make up positions or get a really good start and get a jump.
Drivers who will not have a good start will be Brady Baldwin. He's down on pit road. His day is done for this opening heat, and he will have it all to do in the second round of heats to make a push forward. So we are expecting a green flag this time by not running a safety truck, as it were, to try and push this field going forward. But it seems that this field now will have maybe just a better opportunity to attack this one. So Dillon and Bomford on the front, Jordan and Dunn in row 2, and then you got Parmitter and Gregory on the third row, down to 6 as we keep the running going. 10 laps on the clock. That will turn down to 9 now as we get ourselves going again, and high line being taken early as Dunn has to take 2-3 stabs as they battle for second. A little bit of contact there, but Shannon Jordan finds the way through on Bomford, and that gives a podium position a little higher up.
Yeah, absolutely. Now Bomford under attack from Craig Dunn, and possibly Darren Parmenter as well, who is thereabouts against the likes of Dunn and Bomford. Obviously, Bomford having a little bit of a gap to Dunn at the moment, but Parmenter's there or thereabouts. He's nearly got Craig Dunn, and at the moment, Bomford is really having to take defensive action against the likes of Craig Dunn, who's really looking to make his way by.
He certainly is, and on that low side, he's able to do it, and there's the block pass, and he checks up the entirety of the pack behind as both Bomford and Parmenter are unable to get going, but at the front, Jordan versus Dylan, and Dylan able to hold on. He's doing 13.8s at the moment, is Dylan. That last time across the line was a 13.766, but Shannon Jordan took 600ths of a second out. Massive in terms of a 13-second lap. Shannon Jordan is pulling back in that gap and using all of the clean side up on the cushion to try and make sure that push is happening.
Yeah, Jordan's really closing it and down that gap on Brett Dillon just ahead of him. It's very, very close in terms of the lap time. Just a little bit quicker was Jordan that last time by, and now Jordan's going to try something different as they're going to be going down to the low side, but we've got one in the wall just in the further back, but that battle for the lead's still going on.
Yeah, and actually, I was talking about the leader there, Brett Dillon. He clipped the wall coming out of the 3 and 4 section, and he's just managed to clip that again, so he's got to be careful about that as Jordan's now got to try and find a way through, and he's looking low side to make that work. Shannon Jordan trying everything, and now it's the turn of roles reversal, but Jordan has control. Dylan second, Dunn now has caught up to the group in third. Bomford and Parmenter have had their own issues. They are way back in the pack, but look at Dunn now pushed to the low side. Dunn has really got a turn of pace. The white flag comes out now. There's one lap to go here in this one, and Dunn's looking low to try and steal second away. Dylan, though, in control of that one in second, but it will be Shannon Jordan who will pick this up. The battle for second into the wall there. On the inside goes Craig Dunn. That forfeits second. Jordan takes the victory, though, in heat number 2, and a big result in terms of that one. So we'll just pull them over to the side. Shannon Jordan picks up victory. Brett Dillon will get second. Craig Dunn third. Then it's Darren Parmenter and Kevin Bomford, 2 non-finishers then in your field. As Rusty Gregory comes home a very late 6th, as Brady Baldwin actually the only finisher that is going to be classified as a non-finisher overall. So a good result then from them as they have made that push and showcased exactly what they wanted to do out of that one. Cam, that is a big result for Shannon Jordan, a good victory.
Yeah, absolutely. Really good victory. And starting P3, he got a very good jump on that second restart. So really good to see the pace that he had and whether he can transfer that over to the A main when the track starts to slick up a little bit more. But this next heat is going to be really interesting, that's for sure.
Certainly will. We'll just pick up the race victor here. Shannon Jordan joining us. Shannon, a very strong victory. Had to work hard to pull back that time, but very much able to.
I appreciate it, guys. Bit of fun out there for the boys, and the track's coming to us, so good fun.
Very good fun. So prime position now for you, looking towards that second pill heat. Are you looking at maybe putting in a charge a little bit later on? It seems that the points total will be in your favour.
Oh, I hope so, mate. It's they're a good bunch of guys to race with, these guys, and there's probably over the two or three nights, there's probably 40 guys that can win it. Any of the 86 drivers could win it, I guess, but there's some real talent out there, and it's good to race.
Well, some very strong talent out there, but also we'll let you go very quickly as they're getting the next heat. But finally, just before we go, what was your thoughts on the opening lap incident?
Yeah, unfortunately, the guy on the outside had a bit of a blinking issue, and I wasn't too sure. I couldn't see him, and then all of a sudden he was there, and we all come together. So a bit unfortunate, but hopefully not.
Hopefully not too much of a disservice indeed. Shannon Jordan then joining us there. Victory in heat number 2. But we have heat 3 coming up, and that is up on your screen right now. So it'll be Ferris who will be on pole position. Maloney will start from second. Sariko and Klenk, we do believe, are not in positions to take the starting grid. Vassal, Mia Ott, and then you got Cross, Brown, Butel, Reed, and Romeo who will look to try and take to this grid. We'll see a good 8 drivers then looking to take to this one, Cam, and these drivers all know that they have to be absolutely perfect. They've seen a very good and tough race to start. They've seen maybe the false start and the very much a tactical race in the second. Now this third race, this is really going to set their momentums up for the remainder of this racing tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be real interesting to see who's going to come away with this. Jake Maloney, obviously the favourite to probably walk away with the win in this heat, but anything can happen with it being dirt racing. There's Danny Vassell just behind who could possibly challenge for that win as well against Jake Maloney, but really going to be something we're going to have to watch because it's going to be a very interesting heat.
You're absolutely right. As the green flag goes, they were in position very early. We're underway. Simon Ferris with control of the field. Great jump from the second row there from Danny Vassell, who goes low and gets it going. Mia Ott, she's on the outside and is now struggling in the battle for fourth, but we're fighting it out for the podium, and then it's the rest of the best as Ott takes a tumble, and there's the hit in the background as they all continue going forward. That was with Jason Brown, who was trying to hold everything together. Battle, though, for the leaders. Maloney now tries to push to the outside of Ferris, who is having none of it.
Yeah, Ferris is trying to run that bottom line, but Maloney's got that top side advantage of having so much momentum through the corner that he's just blasted straight on by Danny Vassell just behind, trying to close that gap up to Simon Ferris with Matt Reid not too far behind. He's running the bottom of the racetrack as well, seeing if it's going to work, but not quite going to get it done. But Danny Vassell's still trying to close that gap to Simon Ferris at the moment, slightly quicker as well, so could possibly see him come up to the back of that podium position in a few laps' time.
We do apologise, ladies and gentlemen, for the heat graphic that has seemingly stayed on your screen for the majority at the start of this one, but Maloney trying to make some pushes. They will come up on lap traffic. Mia Ott, and she will pull off into pit road. That will essentially be all she wrote for that one. Matt Reid trying to attack and look to try and make the move, going for an up and under on Danny Vassell. Vassell goes low to cover, though, but that high side is getting more and more used and more aggressive as they look to push. But another good run off the exit, and again, it's a case of I'll cover you and we'll play that tactical game of chess all day long.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very tactical game of chess, and they're playing it for as long as they possibly can. A big side job from Danny Vassell there through turns 3 and 4, and he's still holding on to that position at the moment, still trying to hunt down Simon Ferris, but just can't quite get it done at the moment as Maloney's running away.
That apron, or so I should say that cushion, is very fast disappearing as the lights have come on here at Volusia. It is getting late, it is getting cool, and these drivers know when the lights are on, they've got to shine. It's a spotlight as they make their way through once again, as the white flag comes out for Jake Maloney, who has been in complete control of this event. Took it around the outside of Simon Ferris, who has done very well in this race to hold on to second position. Vassell holding on to third, going low for the big lunge. Not going to find anything. Checker flag comes out. It's a win for Maloney. It will be second position then come the end for Simon Ferris. Danny Vassell will pick up third. It will be Matt Reid who will pick up fourth position. Joel Patel in fifth. Jason Brown in sixth. And Mia Ott, a non-finisher, come all of that. Very strong start there that we saw. Just a little incident, a little tangle there on lap 2, but apart from that, all fine and dandy.
Yeah, absolutely. For the most part, it was very clean heat, obviously, from everybody in this field. Very, very interesting battle for that third and fourth position between Matt Reid and Danny Vassell. Very, very close the whole entire time. Vassell not quite have the pace of Ferris, but he did a good job to get on the podium nevertheless.
Very much so. We're going to bring in Simon Ferris into the conversation. Simon, you're joining us live here on Forever Sim Racing. A very strong result for you then in the end. Second position, got a good jump off of the whole shot and the pole, but ultimately just unable to carry the same pace as Maloney.
Yeah, mate, just couldn't quite keep up with him, but big shout out to the team, Wilton Racing and Motorless Motorsport. It's a good run.
A good run indeed, and of course, you're looking to make that push and trying to make that work for you, but ultimately, you find yourself now really strong on points, looking towards the next sort of runs, the next sort of heats. How's that going to fare in terms of your pushes towards Sunday?
Not sure yet, mate. We'll just have a good go and see what happens, eh?
Yeah, we'll see how that works for you. But ultimately, though, it's very strong. Simon Ferris then coming along and picking up that position. So just a reminder that those times on the side are the fastest times of the day that we have seen. It's either that or you're going to be seeing a nice little a nice little thing on the left-hand side that's going to have a whole lot of nothing. We think that it'd be better if you had some information rather than none overall. So, fourth lot of heats. This will be the final lot of the first round of heats, and then we're going to take ourselves away just for a short moment as we get the points dotted up and see how everyone is. It will be Trent Gosley who will take control of that one. Norseman, we do believe, is struggling on his way to make it, but the likes of Richmond, Hutchins, Barnacote, McQuilkin, Kinnear, Maguire, Childs, Stacey and Yelland, those would be the 11 that should take the start. However many would, though, is very much a different picture to be said. It will be a 4-car field that we'll be seeing. So that will be Kinnear, Yelland, Hutchins and Gosley. So that final pack really struggled towards the end there in terms of numbers. But sometimes that's the way it goes, Cam. You know, not everyone makes it up on the night. So sometimes if you are left with a little bit of a latter field, so to speak, it's 3 points. It's free real estate. You take it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things as a driver, you just have to take it as a bit of a thing on the chin. You just have to take it as it comes and not really go, well, that kind of sucks because it means there's less racing. It's like you're getting 3 points. Don't complain, just take it, because you never know. Should that you have had the whole field, you might have ended up in an incident and not scored points. So it's sort of a blessing in disguise.
It certainly can be a blessing in disguise quite a bit. So we will see how this one is going to fan out and play out then as these final 4, so to speak, look to take the final heat of the first round, and they'll be looking to push and get their points and try and find themselves a way through. A little easier, some may say, for those, but it's still 10 laps nevertheless. Still no guarantees that you're going to find yourself in a good position. Gosley in control of things at the moment as they are looking to go green this time by in order to make sure that their run is going to be as solid and as reputable as it is possibly going to be. So going to head ourselves then around 3 and 4, and we're going to get ourselves ready for 10 more laps worth of racing action as we get ourselves ready. There's the green flag and there's the go, and on the outside it was a very solid start. Maybe got a little too high into the wall there, slightly did Rob Kinnear, as Brendan Hutchings holds control at the front with Yelland there, and also the likes of Gosley, having a good start. It was Hutchings who was a little bit high, but he tags the wall once and twice, and that will not be helpful at all. These are sturdy and robust, but how sturdy and robust is the battle for third on the low side there? Kinnear struggling against Yelland.
Yelland using that high side to his advantage at the moment. Kinnear using a bit of a side job. It did help him. Now Yelland's going to try and come back at him with the same thing, but going to be side by side down the back straight into turn number 3. Yelland's going to go for a slide job, not quite going to run, slightly lower though, and he's just going to lose out unfortunately to Kinnear. So Kinnear will concede third position, but at the moment that 1-2 position between Gosley and Hutchings is looking like it's pretty steady at the moment.
It's pretty steady, and we've just been seeing there Yelland's battle. He was just washing out a little bit, and now Hutchings becomes the man under pressure as Kinnear starts to reel that back in, looking for second position in terms of the front. Trent Gosley doing 13.9s, 14.2, 14.1, 14.2. He's at least 2 tenths quicker than the rest of the field out on track at Volusia, and that is going to be key in terms of this one, running very, very strongly at the moment as they get on the power once again as they look to push through 3 and then push through 4 and get that run going. But it's very much stasis at the moment. No one really able to make that push, but it's just slowly gathering itself back up. A 14.0 last time by from Brendan Hutchings. He'll be happy with that. He's finding the pace now.
Yeah, he's starting to come into a world of his own sort of and start to get some really good pace at the moment, although Kinnear and Yelland are there or thereabouts. Kinnear is actually starting to catch him a little bit, so you really have to be careful here that he doesn't get past anytime soon, because he'll want to get that second place points and score some decent points towards the rest of the night, that's for sure.
Well, it's very clear now that high line is the right line as they start pushing it through. White flag, though, will very easily come out, though, for Trent Gosley, and Trent has been in complete control of this, and nobody's looked like they've gone anywhere near. The battle for second still heating up. It's got to be a big lunge from Mr. Kinnear if he wants to go and get it, but he's in no position. Checkered flag comes out for Trent Gosley, who takes heat 4 at a canter. At that stage, it will be Brendan Hutchings who will take a second position. Rob Kinnear will get third, and Tristan Yelland will end up in that 4th position. So a good scrap between them, a good clean scrap as well, which has to be said as they pick them up. Confirmation then Trent Gosley picks up the victory and in fact joins us now here in the Forever Sim Racing commentary booth. Trent, that was plain sailing.
Yeah, mate, I got pretty lucky there with the numbers in the heat and being off pole, but yeah, still had to get the job done.
Well, of course, there's no guarantees it's going to be as plain sailing for the second heat that's going to be coming up very soon. So that is really going to be something for you to really focus on. But maximum points from the opening heat on a small heat as well. Should we call that just a gentle ease into the night's racing?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's always good to have something like that to start the night off with, especially in the race. And feel pretty good, confident with the car setup. So looking forward to the next heat too.
Very confident you are, especially running on your own. But in terms of battling with other people, yet to be tested, are you looking forward and relishing that sort of thought?
Oh, yeah, definitely. You always got to look forward to racing against other cars. I mean, that was all good to get the lead like that. But, yeah, it's always fun to be passed.
Well, we'll wish you the best of luck as you head off on your merry way. Trent Gosley picking up the victory. But we're heading towards the second lot then of racing here, the second lot of heats, Cam, and that's going to be crucial because those drivers who didn't get a good result are going to be searching for it. Those who did are looking to maintain.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a bit of redemption for those who didn't go too good in the first heat, but also going to be something for those who did do well in the first heat to sort of have something to work for, because it's a reverse grid sort of the first heat. So it's going to mix this field up a little bit and possibly going to see some incidents of faster drivers coming through the field and possibly ending up getting tangled in slower drivers sort of mishaps. So going to be something you have to keep an eye on and really going to have to watch out for, because it could end badly, but it could be some really good racing.
Baldwin then will be at the front. Wilton, Hall and Sanders, 2, 3 and 4. Then you got Hewitt and Callahan, who won't be there. Parmitter, Atkins, Furler, Stewart, Gregory and Price will be how the field will stack up. No guarantees that everyone is going to make it, of course, but those are the dice. But Brady Baldwin, who had absolutely nothing to go with, had to retire on the opening heat that he was in Heat 2. Now he's got to try and make that recovery, but he's doing it from the front of the field, which will make his life just a little bit easier in terms of trying to pick up points. Got Wilton, who had a good run. Got Parmitter, Atkins, Stewart looking to push on pretty nicely. Troy Price there at the back had not the best run in his opening heat. He went from first to last, so he needs to find maybe a little bit of pace from that. But Cam, this is very much going to need to be a case of must find, must win, must race hard, and maybe we're going to see more attacking moves than we would have seen in the opening heats.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially for those who are quicker and starting a little bit down the field compared to their slower counterparts. So we're starting further up the field. So really going to be something that's going to be interesting. And these reverse races really do spice the field up sometimes. And you do tend to see some slightly different results to what you normally do. And yeah, going to be something we're going to have to watch and enjoy.
The top 16 make their way automatically to the A main for bragging rights on night one. And those who don't quite make it will see themselves in the B main. So there's bragging rights. There's also a fight for the top 29 as they will all look to make that push. We are expecting green to happen very, very soon in terms of the running that we've got. And in fact, it will happen just about... As we wait a little bit more. They've got another couple of corners to go, just holding the trigger. They are waiting here. Brady Baldwin just trying to just make sure that he gets a clean start. So easy to over-deal with the start, especially with how much torque there is. And there's the green, and they're going to go. Baldwin moves instantly up high to cover. High is the way to go as he forces low to cover the move from Sanders, who moves up immediately into second position. Great work off that start. Now the high line starting to work nicely as they all make those pushes. Then a lap already completed.
Everybody's still starting to move to that high side, starting to really get closer and closer to that outside wall. But at the moment, Bradley Sanders driving it around the outside of Joshua Wilton for that second position. Not quite going to get it done, though, but he's going to drive back underneath into turn number 4 and into turn number 1. He's going to get the job done and now going to be challenging for the lead on Brady Baldwin, who's going to be just about there. and keep the lead at the moment, as Sanders didn't quite get the run out of turn number 1, but that battle for the lead is really heating up, and now Joshua Wilton really getting involved at this, so it's a 3-way fight for the lead.
They're close. They're really close. And bang into the wall. There goes Sanders. So he's taking all the responsibility up and under attempt, but well covered 3 wide at the stripe as they head their way into 1. And that's a beautiful move coming in from Sanders. He takes control. Now under pressure is Baldwin as Wilton looks low and looks even lower still. Behind that, though, they're scrapping it out as Atkins finds a way past Parmitter. Is just in the background. There's Stewart starting to struggle, but they're still battling it out up at the top, and they're looking every which way to make these moves.
Yeah, Wilton and Sanders still going at it side by side through turn number 3 and 4. Sanders on the high, so going to drive around the outside. And now the likes of Tog Aikens and Darren Parmitter getting involved in this. In contact between Brady Baldwin and that
caution.
Todd Aikens says we've now got a yellow.
A wild rodeo for Brady Baldwin, and that might have just spelt disaster on his night for a top 29 as Brady Baldwin falls massively backwards in the course of that one. That's a massive shame for him. Just the case there, Cam, you had to say, of drivers getting aggressive. It was such a hard-fought battle. The powder keg had to explode at some point.
Yeah, it absolutely did, and it's just one of those things you really don't know in a sprint car because of that massive wing. It's really difficult to see what's on the right-hand side of you, especially when you throw a slide job like that into the corner. You really don't know what to do, and if the guy behind you doesn't expect you to come up so high, you're gonna end up in the wall like Brady did, unfortunately. So really unfortunate for Brady because he's doing so well there and would have scored some very solid points, but another DNF for him, unfortunately.
We've just been catching the cameras, which were brought to you, of course, by Wilton Racing, and on that camera we saw just how disastrous it could be. There was just a little time ago a little look at it from the rear, and it looked absolutely like a rodeo, and you do not want to be involved in any sort of incident like that, especially not in the real world. And maybe you could say in some respects, Cam, thank goodness it's virtual.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank goodness it's virtual, because it's one thing to take a tumble in a race car, to not hurt yourself, but also not to pay for damage as well when it's virtual.
And we're green.
Back under racing, and Sanders with a very good jump off the restart.
Yeah, very much. Wilton was looking to go low, but was caught a little too early, had to back out of it, and as such, the whole pack has been caught out. Parmitter there in 3rd position. Stewart now up to 4th. Atkins struggling as he gets the slide job going, and he's in the wall, and he's riding it. Up, hold it. No, just about as he tries to run it, the Logan Seavey line, and almost trying to get it to work, but able to keep that one just about going. Sanders, though, in full control. Atkins retires, but now Wilton looking to try and make the push, and he looks to try and keep himself in control as there are just a handful and a bit of scraps left worth of laps. White flag comes out as now it's just the final chance saloon if you want to pick up a victory here in this 5th heat. This second run out for drivers. Look at that nose to tail. You cannot split them as they both go low looking, and it's going to be Wilton trying to push high. Is there contact? Yes, there is. Wilton goes around. Victory will go to Sanders, but he crosses the line in 2nd. So Wilton will pick up 2nd from that one then. 3rd will go in the end to Darren Parmitter. Harry Stewart will pick up 4th. Troy Price will finish up with a top 5, but it is Bradley Sanders who picks up the victory, and a very strong victory at that. We'll drag him in for interview, and he will stand by with Cam Dance.
Really, mate, good drive there, especially to start where you did in that field. Really, really good drive. Just give us an idea of what it was like going through that battle, because it was absolutely hectic with about 4 of you all going at it.
Oh, mate, that was an intense battle, that one. My palms are sweating, everything, bit nervous. I had to try and redeem myself from the last one. So, yeah, it was hard fought, and yeah, it was good.
Obviously, with that win in this 2nd heat, you should have enough points to earn a spot in the A main automatically. So that should help your way into the A main, and hopefully you do quite well. Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to real quick?
Just all the boys at the 111 esports team, mate. Like, they've been really good helping me out with everything.
Well, there we go.
There you have it.
Yep, exactly. Bradley Sanders then picking up a big victory, and 111, one of those new teams, Cam, that have come into the fold, of course, coming out of what we could say is the ashes of All-Star Motorsport, another massive team that found itself in 2019 hitting the administration bed, so to speak. So it's nice to see 111 having a good run. It's nice to see that team, of course, managed and run by Brock Cadday, having a really good showing there with that victory.
Yeah, absolutely. Really good group of guys, those 111 group. And yeah, really good to see Brayley get a win, especially after what happened in the first heat where it didn't quite go to plan for him.
Didn't quite go to plan, but the next heat certainly should for a lot of drivers. And this heat will include Callow, Cornwall, Hartley, Gow, Clark, Dunn, Tacken, who won't make the start, Bomford, Hewitt, Jordan, Bowden, and Dillon. Those are the 12 that are to take. Those who will take, though, are just a little bit different. So we'll see how many we've got looking up to get to the grid. And by my calculations, it's going to be a 6-car field. No, sorry, I'll scratch that. At least a little bit more. 8-car field. Sorry, that will be looking to try and take and make and shake and bake. Try and get some positions to work out in favour. So these drivers know that they've seen that second race. They know the level of those drives they're going to push. When they go B main, A main, this is going to be a difficult race for a lot of drivers. They know they've got to pull off quite a strong showing here, and there's not much you can say except go out there, race hard, and race cleanly.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to score those points, and you've also got to make sure you do also get up that pointy end of the field so you can score maximum points as well, because you really don't want to be finishing down the back, especially if you didn't have a great run in that first heat as well. So it's going to be interesting to see who's going to come out on top in this field. Obviously, you've got the likes of Lewis Hewitt, Boyd Bowden, Shannon Jordan, and obviously Brett Dillon. Obviously, in this heat, starting a little bit further down the field than they normally would. So really going to be interesting to see who's going to come out on top.
Well, we'll see who does come out on top. You got likes of Jackson Callow looking to make pushes there on the front. You've got green flag going, though, and they're going to get going. And that high side working well as it's a very solid start as they get going. That's Ricky Cornwall, who finds himself very much in control at the front. The battle for third hotting up now as there's Hartley battling it out with Dunn, who looks really, really quick, but around the outside, trying to make that push the inside line. Working big incident, though, in the middle. That's Dunn, who's just been seen on his side, and he flips himself back up the right way. And just like that, Craig Dunn's day goes from right to the back of the pack.
Yeah, really, really unfortunate incident there for Dunn. It just looked like he clipped the right rear of
Hartley.
The car of Hartley. So really, really unfortunate there for Dunn. He had very good pace and showed some very good pace in his first heat as well. So that's really unfortunate, as he could have had a very good result in the second heat with the way it was going.
Well, Hartley was trying to straighten up that vehicle there, Cam, and one of the big issues is you got so much torque and you're fighting a car that always wants to go left. So the moment that vehicle goes right, it's a massive challenge to wrestle that car together. I think Hartley just ran Dunn out of road.
Yeah, obviously with that with the straight line, obviously being a bit slick at the moment, it obviously does make controlling the car a little bit harder in a straight line. And obviously, like you said, a lot of torque, a lot of power for the little weight that it does have. It does make it very difficult to control in a straight line when you do get loose.
Yeah, and you can see run out of road there goes Craig Dunn, and now he drops to the back of the pack, and maybe with quite a bit of damage after that rough ride that he's had, and maybe he's going to be trying to shake off that suspension to see if it's still intact, as a lot of drivers, especially when it comes to the real side of things, normally they run with a suspension that may even be broken at some stages, just so they've got enough rotation on that front left wheel. So very much a case of, well, it might not be the end of the world on that left-hand side.
Yeah, it could possibly not be. It's really could be interesting to see how much damage you possibly have. You might be able to continue and maybe get a position or two should anyone else DNF, but really going to be a struggle for him with obviously missing his front wing by the looks of it, and possibly a bent axle.
Matt Hartley's been sent back to the end of the line, so that will be what we'd call karmic justice in the world as he moves himself back through. But your field looks as follows. It's Ricky Cornwall in control. Then you got Callow, Hewitt, Jordan. That's your top four. Then you got Bomford, Bowden, Dillon, and Dunn. And following that is Hartley. So everyone's still running, but a lot of drivers stacking up this field. Ricky Cornwall still in control at the front. We should be going green next time by, so Ricky Cornwall will be in control, and they will look to start stacking up that field and looking to go through and making sure that everything is going to work. As I do just correct myself there, the Ashes of Chris Maressa Racing and not All-Star Motorsports there, so that was back with what happened with Bradley Sanders, but that's a different point entirely. But for the time being, Ricky Cornwall will have that control and will be running that uber high line, trying to just cover off as many moves as possible, trying to make sure that outside line doesn't seem to be any racing factor. And he's going to go very, very early there on the green, and he gets the jump that he was looking for there, Cam, as they go through single file then to get proceedings back going.
Yeah, Callow didn't get too bad of a jump out of turn 1 and 2 either, so he's not too far behind the car of Cornwall at the moment, but Hewitt's not too far behind Callow either, and Jordan's coming along nicely as well, so possibly could see a four-way battle for the lead here, or even a 3-car battle, depending on what happens with these two ahead.
Yes, and Callow starting to look there, went high and a little lower there, starting to cover off that move ever so slightly, is going to be Ricky Cornwall. He's got to play that defensive line, and the more people he brings into the fight, some may say the argument is easy. He gets contact though, great run from the exit, and has that damaged the rear ever so slightly, because there's the slide from Callow, who now takes control, but back low goes Ricky Cornwall, looking to try and keep that position in his favour, and he goes uber low side to try and make it work, and it does pay out, but into the wall goes Callow, and he turns himself around, and there's a second caution that's going to come out after Callow spins himself.
Yeah, and that was just a really, really unfortunate. And Callow did that all by himself, just ran a little bit too high on the exit of turn 4. And with the way that that wall comes around and starts to tighten up on the exit, it's very easy to do and really unfortunate. Good work by Hewitt, though, to actually avoid possibly making contact, as the way it was looking, he really could have ended up having a bit of an incident, well, being involved in that incident and getting damaged himself.
Yeah, and so very lucky everyone else was to avoid that. That was right on the racing line, on the exit of 4, right on that front stretch. So on the fastest half mile in dirt, you know you have a little bit less time than usual to try and find a way around, but they were able to do so. So Cornwall now has control, but it's Lewis Hewitt now who will be the next worrying pit, and Shannon Jordan 3rd, Bomford 4th, Bowden 5th, Dillon in 6th. Then it's done. Hartley and Jackson Callow has moved all the way to the back of the line. So a very tough challenge, a very strong challenge that they have, as they're going to go green once again and go. And Ricky Cornwall again going early, getting that good run coming off of 4. Hewitt again loses about 5 car lengths there, trying to gather it back up together, but immediately one comes back as they start pushing, and Cornwall's going to start running the low line here. Feels that there's a little bit of grip left back down on that low, and that's how this track evolves with the iRacing dynamic track, as they're side by side. Instant in the background though, Hartley drops all the way to the back of the field, as to the outside tries Bowden, as he gets a little tap with Brett Dillon as they go door hammers and spanners.
Yeah, the back few still scrapping out for minors, and really nothing left, well, leaving anything on the table. They're going at it left, right, and centre. It's all going off, but that at the moment, the battle for the lead really looks like it's stabilised, and white flag is in the air.
White flag is very much in the air for Ricky Cornwall, who's done very well to stave the tide that has been going on here in this one. Then you got Hewitt and Jordan, and that battle for 4th and 5th going on as Bowden and Dunn fight it out. But it will be Ricky Cornwall who picks up the victory in heat number 2. The battle further down, Dunn's going to steal one at the end and is going to get past Boyd Bowden. So that will conglomerate the field. Ricky Cornwall wins. It's Lewis Hewitt in 2nd. Shannon Jordan picks up 3rd. Then you got Bomford, Dunn, Bowden, Dillon, and then Hartley, as that will round out your field, as Jackson Callow fails to finish off the event there. So some very, very strong racing up and down that field, but it is Ricky Cornwall who has gone and picked up victory. Going to look a little bit further down the field, though, in terms of who we're going to bring in for interview, because very quickly we're going to bring in Matt Hartley in for conversation. Matt, we saw you a little bit further down the field, getting caught up in the early incident.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, a bit out of my element there, bro.
A little bit out.
Out of my element. Bit of a handful. Not used to the sprint cars. Should have had more practice.
Well, more practice.
It was fun.
Oh, I bet it was, and certainly a lot of practice is very much in position. But you've looked at that. You've had 2 pretty solid runs. Maybe that one not running the way that you wanted to towards the back of the field. But is it a case of now hoping that the points land in your favour?
Yeah, I don't know if I'll get any points for the first one because I DNF'd in that one. I had a meatball. So the second one, at least I finished. That was good.
Well, at least you've got to finish at the very least. Then it will be a B main, hopefully for you, Mr. Hartley, as he's just joined us there in the commentary booth. It's nice to also talk sometimes to those drivers who are maybe a little bit down the order, who wouldn't normally get that spotlight, Cam, because some of the greatest stories do come for those drivers a little bit down the order.
Yeah, absolutely. And those down the order can always sometimes provide the best racing. I mean, there's been multiple times I've seen where it's not been necessarily the strongest drivers out there, but it's provided some of the most amazing racing you'll ever see, just because the talent gaps and the amount of time difference is just so small that everybody's just so close to each other, and the racing is amazing.
The racing is very much amazing, and they are having that push, and they are showcasing what they've got. Heat 7, though, is going to be up on the board. So Reed, Yellen, Brown, Childs. We believe Mia Ott has just accumulated a bit too much damage and won't take this next start. Kinnear, Clank, Barnacote, Maloney, Richmond, and Gosley. So so Gosley and Maloney will be fighting this one off from the back. So this will be a different challenge for those. It's 5 to the start that they will have. As they all push. In fact, no, I'll correct myself. It's going to be a 4-car race. So Reed and Yelland will have tough work trying to hold off Maloney and Gosley. Sorry, there's the 5th in Rob Kinnear. So those 5 will all have that push, Cam. And, of course, another lower field for Trent Gosley, who seemingly has thanked his lucky stars. He's rubbed the 8 ball, which said try again later. But he got a bit of good luck here and good fortune in terms of these heats.
Yeah, sorry there. As I was about to say, it's really going to be interesting to see what this heat is. Obviously, Maloney's going to be one of the stronger drivers, but we've seen some very interesting racing from the likes of Matt Reed, Tristan Yelland, and Rob Kinnear, and also Trent Gosley. So it's anybody's guess as to who could possibly win this one.
It certainly could be anyone's guess. So we'll see how that one plays. We believe we're going to be going one more time around before we get ourselves going to green flag action here in Heat 7 out of 8. And those drivers at the front know that points are going to be very much at a premium here, and they are going to get a little bit bumped up in terms of some of the other hard-fought racing, as we are going to be going green this time by. So Reed will have control of the field there in the number 22. His time when it came to the hot lapping was a 13.382. That was back when the track was not quite as slick as this. This is slicker than an oil slick, some may say, but they round 3 and 4, Reed in control, just waiting for that green flag to drop. As the green does drop, and very much caught unawares, there was Yelland on the outside and spins it, trying to get it going, and there's the yellow immediately coming off there as Tristan Yelland just gets a little bit too greedy on that throttle pedal, and it's so easy to do. The track different from what it was in heat number 1, so those tyres are going to be struggling to find that grip, and in that search, he went left, he went right, he started snaking.
Yeah, he did actually put the power down on the slick part of the racetrack, so not exactly the most amount of grip that he'll find in the circuit, but really unfortunate for Tristan. But we'll get a restart of this start because it was obviously on the first lap, and it'll give everybody another chance to try and get another good start.
Deep breaths there, Tristan. You got another attempt then from the front row, so Matt Reed will have a second attempt getting this one right. It was almost a case of getting caught out just a little late then on the jump as they tried to push, and Yellen was like, oh wait, we're going? Quick. Oh no, left and right and centre and slant ways and anything else from Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. But now for the moment, here comes the restart then. Matt Reed in control, taking a very, very low line, trying to make sure that the restart works in favour. There's the green, and they get going again. Yelland again a little bit slow, as now Maloney takes second position very comfortably. Gosley immediately moves up into fourth, and the battle for lead immediately on. And big wheel coming from Matt Reed as he tries to look low side to try and cover off Maloney, but Maloney will immediately look to try and go up and under, and he's going to try and take that lead away. He drives it in deep, and he's going to try and take the track away, but Reed's going to fight it back.
Yeah, Reed's going to drive it in, down on the low side into turn number 3, do a slide job to the top, and the turn number 4, Maloney's going to do the same thing back in a 1 and 2. It's going to be slide job city between these two, but now just behind Matt Reed, Trent Gosley getting involved in this, so could see a three-way battle going on for the lead at some point, but at the moment it's a three-way battle for that second, third position.
Yes, as Yellen drops to the back, Kinnear starts to push, but Reed now under pressure here as Gosley goes low, looking for that second place, and we're getting a little wiggle there on the outside. Can't be allowed that much room as Gosley again pushes low and is actually getting a good run there, picks up some great traction. He's going to go immediately low for the lead. Is the low line now the one that works? So here we go as they push, they go down to the inside again. It's Gosley who's going to look to take the lead. Maloney might need to change tact here. Low starts to work.
Yeah, the low side actually starting to really come into its own at the moment. The high side starting to go off a little bit, although cushion will probably start to be building up a bit more, but that low side really, really quick at the moment as Gosley is starting to show. Maloney's struggling a little bit to try and keep up with Gosley at the moment, and Reed sort of there or thereabouts, but at the moment, Gosley's really starting to use that low line to his advantage.
Rob Kinnear in fourth position as there's a little tap on the wall there from Matt Reed, and that really shakes the rhythm out to Rob Kinnear, who backs way out of it and drops 2 seconds and now falls into his battle with Tristan Yellen. But at the front, it is still Trent Gosley who's looking to go back to back, and probably the only driver in this field able to go back to back so far. You got Maloney there in second, Reed trying to search the high line there in third. They're looking for any little advantage they can find, and for the time being, at least, the white flag will come out. One final lap then for Trent Gosley, who has done a fantastic job of just dismantling the field, just picking drivers apart one by one, seeing the low line work the earliest, and just like that, Trent Gosley takes the checker and wins here in Heat 7. It will be Maloney in second, Matt Reed will take third, fourth will go to Rob Kinnear, and Tristan Yelland will round out the 5 that decided to make that push and take that charge. So a very, very strong race from all of them as they look to make those pushes. We are going to try and grab in Tristan Yelland into conversation. Tristan, back of the field, but one where at the front, maybe a little shaky there on that first start.
Yeah, I'm buggered, but it was a good run. Look, it was hard to pass out there, to be honest.
It's hard to pass out there. We will apologise for the little bit of colourful language that we heard just there, but you found yourself there in a very challenging position there. You're trying to find the grip seemingly changing midway through the race from high to low line. How difficult is it to sort of know where to feel for the grip?
Oh, look, I just go by feel. And look, you can see the line. It's either going high or low. Look, I just couldn't get it right. But anyways, look, I'll chuck it out there next time, you know.
Well, going to give it a good go. Tristan Yellen there getting a 5th position out of that one as we now look ourselves towards the final of the gridded races that we've seen, which are organised by pill format. The next races after that will be a points inversion with those tops in points. They will be a top 6 inversion, so those points are going to become very, very vital. So Stacey will be in control of the field. Don't expect to see him show up. Then you got Romeo, Maguire, Butel, McQuilkin, Cross, Hutchins, Vassell, Norseman, Sarako, and Ferris. So this could be a very, very small grid indeed. And just looking at it, we're going to get ourselves a good handful there. Another 5 that are going to take themselves then to the grid as they look to push and they look to try and make sure that their work goes for them. So it's going to be a case of how will this one play into affairs, Cam? They know that their points are going to be totaled up from here, so they've got to have a good result now to get themselves as high as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about making sure you get a very decent position at this point because it's your last chance for these drivers, and you really can't afford to make a mistake because it could really throw your night into a proper absolute shambles. So it's really going to have to be all about making sure you score those points and try and finish as high as you possibly can without throwing your night straight out the window.
And it's that night which you have to get so right as they push up and look for everything they've got. So Vince Romeo will be in control. Then it'll be Butel, and then Hutchings, Vassell, and Ferris will all be looking to try and get as much as they can. That low line may be the place to look if you're trying to find time. That high line seemingly just getting a little bit slicker, but it could come back into play once again, as Romeo very much holding an incredibly high line at the moment, which is going to be very interesting to see come the long term in terms of how this one works for him, because, of course, that high line, seemingly you've got to get as low as you can as quick as possible, but those at the front here are really going to be in position, really, Cam, to make that push and really try and just force a way forward and gain positions early. You've got to get low in this final heat of Heat 8 out of the 12, the final heat of Pill.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you might start to find is, since the low line's starting to come in, a lot of drivers off the start will try to get as low as they possibly can. You might find the top side drivers on starts will try and squeeze the drivers on the bottom right down to that inside fence so they can get the traction off the start and not get left behind in the slick.
Could so easily get left behind in the slick, so they've got to be careful as well off of that start too. We've seen how you can get it wrong off of that get and go, as the likes of Battelle on the outside and Romeo on the inside will look to make pushes. Hutchings on the inside you've got to be careful of, and that green flag will drop right about and now as they get themselves going. A fantastic jump then from Hutchings up into second as the yellow goes. A yellow flag coming along. That jump, that start was not quite what they were looking for, as Battelle seemingly just struggled to get the go-ahead. A massive wiggle. Very nearly lost it, actually, there did Joel Battelle. And they will go and take that one again.
Yeah, looks like Romeo possibly went a little bit too early, so I'll have to go around one more time before they see the green once again.
Well, it seems that it definitely will be one more time. And, of course, Romeo maybe a little bit nervous himself there being at the front, but that's just an indicator of how good that inside line seemingly is. Of course, that inside track seemingly doesn't get much use when you make that push. Only really off the starts that you're going to be seeing many drivers that low down to the inside, so they're going to be trying to get there in good position. So let's try that one again then, as they look to restart heat number 8, as they will head themselves through 3 and 4 once more here on Forever Sim Racing, brought to you by Wilton Australia, or Wilton Racing here in this Australian Nationals. Here's the green flag, and they get themselves going this time. And again, slow start on the high line. There's no grip there as Vassal struggles, Battelle struggles, Hutchings up into second position, Romeo in control. But now this is a case of search, find what you've got. Romeo going low, high going Hutchings, and he's trying to pick up something as they battle it out for third. Battelle under pressure here. Vassal again looking to work that high line. Is there something left there on the cushion?
Yeah, there could very well be something left on that high side. And
not anymore.
Up at the wall, over and over he goes.
Oh my goodness me, and that will throw the yellow flag out surely as he tries to deal with himself there. Vassal pretty much out of it at the moment, but they're going to stay green as Vassal decides he's going to take himself out of the situation. They continue. So down to 4. Romeo leads as Vassal's day is going to be done. Hutchings there in second position. Joel Battelle in third. Simon Ferris in fourth position. A long way off, but it is very much gap central at the moment. Romeo is controlling the pace on a 14.4. Took 4 tenths out of Hutchings, who struggled that lap.
Yeah, he seemed to really struggle and still be struggling at the moment. He seems to be getting caught out in that slick through turn 1 and 2 at the moment, but he's starting to run that high side through turn 3 and 4. So trying to find the grip is starting to become a bit of a challenge, as there's a lot of slick, especially through the middle of the racetrack. And really, you're starting to see as Hutchings gets all out of shape down the back straight.
Did he get a tap is my wondering, and I think he did. He got out of shape and then nowhere to go. Just a little bit of a helping hand from Joel Battelle, and Battelle around the outside will pick up second position. So Hutchings really struggling, but it's almost half a lap's advantage here for Vince Romeo, who has seemingly just come out of the woodworks and who has a setup that works wonderfully here in this low grip format. Romeo is just walking away with it. The battle for second continuing, though, as Battelle on that high side looking. White flag comes out, a lap and a half, though, for this battle, as Hutchings at the moment still trying to find something, has finally gathered that groove back up. But we look back to Vince Romeo, who completely decimates the field, going through the final corner, and Vince Romeo picks up victory at Volusia in heat number 8. The battle for second is won by Brendan Hutchings. It's Joel Battelle who gets third, and it is Simon Ferris then who will take that fourth position. A fantastic race from all of them. Going to bring in Vince Romeo into conversation. Vince, that is a masterclass of these very tough slick conditions. Do we have you, Mr. Romeo? Do we have you, Mr. Romeo? Yes, we do. Or do we? Microphone seemingly unworking at the moment. So, unfortunately for us, our interview is going to be non grata at the moment there, Cam. But Vince Romeo, what a run that he had there. He put half a lap on the field, and that is not the easiest field to battle against, so to speak. Those drivers are very, very solid in the mid-pack, and he just made mincemeat.
Yeah, absolutely. Vince, very, very competitive driver, and it's shown he's got some very good pace over the time that he's been on iRacing. So it's of no surprise he's managed to walk over the field. But like you said, everyone else is still relatively competitive. So for him to have done what he did was pretty well done of him.
Yeah, pretty well done indeed. We're going to try and get Vince once again into conversation. Vince, do you have your mic working now? We're hoping that we're going to get Vince Romeo here in for this one. And the answer is going to be then a firm no from our end. So, Cam, we find ourselves now in a position where we're going to be now getting ourselves a bit of a pencil pusher moment. We're going to start working out a couple of scores here and there. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to step aside just for a small moment. When we come back, we will find ourselves back at coverage here of the Aussie Nationals, here brought to you by Wilton Racing. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, Forever Sim Racing will be back in just a couple of moments' time. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to your 2019 Wilton Racing Australia Nationals. This is the first semi-final out of 2 before our live final on Sunday. Of course, our final will be exactly same time, same place tomorrow. Make sure that you check that out if you don't already. But this opening night has been absolutely fantastic in terms of racing. We're going to take a little bit of fallout from exactly what has happened over the course of this opening 8 heats that we've got. It's Jake Sperry and Cam Dance, Brett Wheeler on cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Cam, let's talk about this just for a moment, because this was a very interesting set of heats. We had 7 different winners out of a possible 8, which just shows you how diverse this opening night is going to be. We haven't had too many issues. It just started to tail away a bit once the track just slicked up a little bit. But what we're expecting maybe is the track to grip up a little bit now that there's a considerable amount of time where there isn't going to be any cars, any vehicles running on it.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives gives the track a little bit of time to sort of settle and not have so much time to possibly wear out. Obviously, it's going to have a little bit moisture come into it and dry out a little bit in some places, but really going to make things interesting, especially with the next set of heats, which are going to be a top 6 inversion as far as the grids go, and really going to mix this field up.
It certainly is going to mix this field up. Something else worth talking about, how good was Trent Gosley? He's shown that he can race from the front, and he has shown that he can make his way through the field. So he's in a really strong position here to really showcase what he is made of. He has pushed through the field. He's arguably at the moment the star of these first semi-finals.
Yeah, absolutely. He's done basically as perfect as you almost can as far as the results go in his first 2 heats. So it's put him in prime position for this next one, although with the way that's working, it's going to start him at a P6. But like we've seen in the last heat, he can obviously drive through the field, which is going to be very handy for this next heat. And come the A main, he's going to be one to watch, that's for sure.
He certainly will do. We tried to get into conversation a little earlier with our good friend Vince Romeo. We had 2 failed attempts, so 3rd time's the charm, Vince.
Hey mate, how are you?
Oh, there we go. Nice and dandy. So let's just talk about your race. You managed to masterclass the field in Heat 8, managing to win by almost half a lap come the end. Just how is your setup working towards low grip and especially that low line?
Oh man, we worked hard on it for a long time, but we finally got something that works. Just had a poor heat 1, got caught up in someone else's mischief, and so had to work hard for heat 2 to bring it home.
Looking towards then Heat 3, you got the top 6 inversions, and maybe you find yourself potentially in a field that some may say is a little easier than some others, say, compared to results. So are you looking to try and get a really strong result, get yourself into that A main and really showcase what your bragging rights are heading towards what should be a very strong Sunday?
Yeah, exactly. There's no such thing as an easy race anymore. Everyone on here's got amazing talent, so I have to put my head down and work out what I got to do for the next race, and then just work one race at a time for now.
One race at a time looking is Vince Romeo. A great result from him in terms of that one. And Cam, that's what we're really seeing here, is that these results are all about how do you push forward? How do you see where you are going to look? Where's the grip? How do I start attacking? At what point do I go for an up and under attempt? At what point do I go for the slide job? It's very much a game of tactics, and you're playing it at 120 kilometers an hour. It's a very, very tough game to play.
Yeah, absolutely. You're making decisions on the fly, literally within tenths, if not hundreds of a second. So it's all about making sure you can make those calls really, really quickly and make sure they can pay off as well, because there's no point throwing a slide job or something and knowing it's immediately going to not pay off. So it's really a dynamic of almost 150 kilometer an hour
just that big push that is needed. We're going to bring into the conversation now Aaron Wilton. Aaron, we come to you because of the Wilton Racing connection that we've got here, of course, our main sponsor for tonight's running. And just from our perspective, just talk to us a little bit about what Wilton Racing means to you and what your sort of aims, goals and aspirations are for the upcoming year.
G'day, guys. Yeah, Wilton Racing, it's a team I sort of put together late last year. I've been a sim racer for a long time, and I wanted to go out and have a crack at doing the real thing. So picked myself up an old Formula 500, got myself out there for the last, I think, 4 races of the season, and pretty much rolled around at the back, but had a good time, and looking forward to getting back out next year with a newer car. Hopefully I can be a bit more competitive and, yeah, have a heap of fun.
A newer car, more competitive, and just how important though is that sim racing aspect, getting unlimited testing time, looking to try and find comparative skills through comparative vehicles. Just how is that pushing you to become a better driver in the real world?
Without a doubt, the sim racing is hugely beneficial. If I didn't spend all the time doing the dirt stuff on the sim, I would not have even been able to do one lap of the speedway in real life. Translates over really well. There's a few little differences, like it's a lot more physically demanding out on the track, and the track surface is a lot rougher than what you kind of get on iRacing, but overall it's pretty much spot on apart from those 2 little things.
I'd just say turn your force feedback up. That would certainly sort a lot of things out. But
Yeah.
Mr. Wilton, looking at the opening racing, it's been a strong bout of racing that we've seen here on night number 1. We're looking towards the third lot of heats, the semi-final, or shall we say the big showcase proper of the A main. Just how have you felt like the competition's been so far, and how do you think that's going to move over in towards the second night of racing?
Yeah, the competition's been awesome. Some really close racing and some big names in there. And yeah, I'm actually a little bit worried about getting out there tomorrow after seeing what's been going on tonight, because everyone's having a real crack. And the way the track's changing quickly, it's going to mean that the setup's going to be really important. And I'm expecting tomorrow people are going to come out just as hard, if not harder. And yeah, it should be good.
And we'll see how it pays off for you. Aaron Wilton then joining us then as part of Wilton Racing. But Cam, we're still in that position where we are just looking for clarification on a couple of things and looking for that opportunity to see just how different the racing can sometimes be. And the big key fact that's going to be coming out from where we are at the moment, heading over towards these next races, is going to be just how this plays off and how this pays off in the long run. So what we are going to be doing is we are going to be running these heats from back to front. There will only be 3 heats by my eyes and by my reckoning, just by the drivers that we have left who are available and are running. So this is going to be tough, but they are going to be running from lowest point score to highest point score, which is always going to be, I think, the bigger challenge. Again, 10 laps, but this is going to be a tough one for drivers who are really hoping that they're going to find as many points as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really going to come down to trying to score as maximum points as possible to get you into that A main. And with the top 6 inversion, it's really going to throw things into a bit of a mix, because you're going to have the likes of Trent Gosley, you're going to have the guys likes of Jake Maloney, Lewis Hewitt, and that all starting around the mid-pack or around where they would normally not be. So they're going to have to work their way through the field that's in front of them and really score some more points, because you're not going to want to end up in a position where you end up not getting enough points for the feature, or possibly ending up in a wreck where you end up in the B main. So it's really going to be about being conservative to get points, but also being aggressive enough so you can actually get enough points to get into that A main as well.
Well, the important thing for all of these drivers is they probably don't have to worry about what happens in this next racing, because there's only 26 out there, which means in terms of top 29, Cam, they all make themselves go to the final, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the good things about this, is that once you get yourself into the final, there's no worries, because it's all about what happens on Sunday, not what happens about for the rest of the night. So you can almost use the rest of the night as sort of a quote-unquote test session, because it's going to give you an idea of what to expect on Sunday, with obviously in terms of track wear, what possibly sort of competition you might have. It's really going to be very valuable track time for a lot of these drivers, and we may even see some drivers come out and blast the field away that we might have never even seen.
We certainly could do, and that is going to be very, very telling, because those who want to push and those who want to see themselves get to as far ahead as they possibly can, they know they've got to do all the training time now. They have an off day tomorrow, and they've got that advantage heading into Sunday that they've just had a day of rest. Of course, that could go completely the opposite way, Cam, because those guys who are on night 2, effectively, they've still got their memory skills still coming into play. They know exactly what happened the last night, and they've just got to replicate that and do it again. So whose advantage is it? Is it an advantage to have a day of rest, or is it an advantage to go out there and do 2 straight nights?
It's a very good point you put. It's a bit of a hard one to make a call on, because while you know what's going to happen on night 1, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen on night 2 as well. So there is that little bit of discrepancy in that something might happen on night 2 that didn't happen on night 1, and you might not be prepared for it if you didn't do night 2. So it's one of those things where you've got to just be prepared for pretty much anything to happen, and really make sure that you aren't going to leave anything on the table, because should something happen that you're not expecting and you're not entirely prepared for it, you're going to be pretty much straight out the back door compared to everybody else who's prepared.
You certainly could do. So it's really the case of everyone has just got to make sure that they are playing with exactly as much as they are able to do. We're just getting the final corrections coming in on the board for us here in terms of these third heats. Of course, they are combined in terms of a points total. It does take a little bit of time to tot up, so to speak. So that's just going to leave things just a little bit open in the air. And the longer that this goes on, the more this track is going to descend into darkness, as it already has. That track has dropped a degree in terms of temperature, and of course a cold track is very slippery, and of course the more that dirt rushes away from the inside of the track towards that outside, towards that cushion, it does make life that little bit more difficult. So Cam, as someone who has a very good experience when it comes to this sort of racing, just how tough is it to sort of adapt to these conditions, especially cold conditions like these?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a thing. I mean, obviously, with it being nighttime, you don't have the likes of the sun beaming down on the track to dry it out and heat it up. So it sort of does help the track a little bit once it descends into darkness. Obviously, you're going to have that moisture sticking around a little bit longer, so the track's going to be having a bit more grip. It's not going to slick up as quickly, but at the same time, it makes it a little bit harder to drive on, because you don't have that sun beaming onto the track to show you where the slick part is, and sort of causing a bit of a reflection as to what you'd normally have in Sunstrike. But at the same time, it's also going to mean that you're going to be able to push a little bit harder, because you've got that ability to have that grip from the fresher track. So it's really weird, and you really have to sort of be able to adapt to it. And that's one of the things about dirt racing, is that if you can be adaptable to what the track's going to be, you're pretty much going to be adaptable to anything. I mean, you throw someone on dirt who's a road racer and they might not go too bad, but once they've had that dirt experience, they actually don't go too bad on everything else, because they're able to adapt to what's happening around them so much quicker.
They certainly do have to adapt to what they have and what they are capable of. So the big question maker is going to be this. We've got about 5-ish minutes or so before we go out for the next lot of heats and a bit more bragging rights, so to speak. But we are just looking at this saying it is going to be very, very tight. We are looking at now final names being added. We're up to 29, so no guarantees that everyone makes it home now. So that much is something just to keep in mind. But we now find ourselves in a really strong position with these drivers. This is their last chances really to point score, to really showcase what they are trying to make happen. So they are looking to try and maybe just make life easier for them. Let's also remember here, there is a reason for racing this, because however many points you get from all of this probably does factor in some way, shape or form to that Sunday and where you're being set up in.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not necessarily that you got to be just sitting back and watching what the track does and just tootling around. You've actually got to make sure that you do push and get a very solid result for the rest of the night, because you never know what could happen. You might end up in a position where there's going to be something happening on Sunday, and what happened on the night before or on night 2 is going to throw it completely out.
It certainly is going to be very interesting for those drivers to see, and those drivers who will all be making it towards Sunday will all understand that they've got a lot of work that they have available to them. But we are now in a position here to get ourselves going for the third lot of heats. We will apologise to you, though, first and foremost, because we do not have graphics available in terms of trying to make them within 15 minutes. It's always going to be too much of a little bit of a stretch. So, heat number 9 out on track. We will have Tristan Yelland, who will be on the pole with Sanders alongside. Then there's Kinnear and Wilton, Jordan and Gosley, Gregory, Romeo, Atkins and Baldwin will be the field that we will be seeing. Those are the 10 that will take themselves up onto the grid. We'll repeat: Yelland, Sanders, Kinnear, Walton, Jordan, Gosley, Gregory, Romeo, Atkins and Baldwin. Those are the ones who will be taking themselves over to the grid. So, track's cooled off a little bit. Track's settled in a little bit here, Cam. Now they're back out on track. Now they're figuring out what needs to be done. Essentially, same as the first heat, same as the second heat. Try and work out where the grip is within 10 laps.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, just to add to that component, it's a lot more slicker than it was in the first few heats. So it's going to be interesting to see what sort of line everybody runs. I presume you might see the bottom come into it again. You might see the cushion start to really take a bit of a advantage, but really going to be down to what everybody's done in setup and who's going to possibly be able to do what.
Who is going to be able to do what is going to be so key, and it seems that everyone will be now looking to push. Of course, Rusty Gregory still struggling a little bit as he blinks in and out just ever so slightly, but definitely not as much as he was in the first 2 heats. So his issues are seemingly falling away. 1 lap before we go again for another 10 laps worth of racing here in these third heats that we're going to be seeing. From there, of course, after these 3 heats, we'll be heading to the B main and then the A main that will be coming up. So this will be a very, very interesting event in terms of how that one is going to play out. But likes of Trent Gosley there in the middle. Keep an eye out on him. Yelland, though, at the front. Walton looking to have some pretty good pushes as well. Shannon Jordan trying to make that push as everyone looks to fight to make sure that they've got bragging rights in their pocket as they go out there and they look to go out and attack. So rounding 3 and 4 they go, and let's get ourselves then set up, waiting, ready. Green flag goes, and it's a long hold as they get going, and there's a check up and there's already contact there in the middle, but they sort themselves out as one driver drops miles back down the order, and that one we do believe is Vince Romeo, who's now got all the work in the world to do, as it is Sanders who has control at the front of the field. He worked the high line well, and the high line seemingly has come back as Wilton finds himself in second. He looks middle, trying to find it. That's the worst place. One vehicle, though, in trouble, hits himself into the wall. That's Rob Kinnear, who struggles, and he falls all the way to the back.
Yeah, Kinnear getting loose on the slick through 1 and 2, and that's put him in the wall, so he'll be having a bit of damage, which is really unfortunate. But that battle for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th position all going on at the moment. About a 4-car train between Tristan Yelland, Bradley Baldwin, Shannon Jordan, and Trent Gosley, all scrapping it out for that position. Try and score some decent points at the moment. They're all running different lines. Some are in the middle, bottom, and top. So it's anybody's guess as to what's being strong at the moment.
Both. That's the case. If people are running both lines are pretty good. Sanders in complete control. Walton second. Battle for third, though. Yelland under pressure as Brady Baldwin sends down to the inside and into the wall high. There goes Gosley, who struggles out a lot as they all look and fan out, looking to try and have their battle. This is a 5-car scrap, looking for just a podium position, and that just tells you all you want to know. Is Yelland looking there in the middle in 5th position, struggles, but it's Vince Romeo who's now finding that pace back again and running that lovely low line, which he so seemingly loves, and he's got himself back to 3rd.
Yeah, big one! Really well. It was a big one with Tristan Yelland and Trent Gosley and Shannon Jordan all involved in that one down the front straight. Massive incident.
Well, it was looking like it was going to end in tears. They were all scrapping it out. You had Yelland there on the outside who struggled, and ultimately that's the 2 into 1, and then the chain reaction happened. Shannon Jordan with nowhere to go on the inside, spears into Trent Gosley, whose day effectively, in terms of heat racing, ends just like that. massive hit. Gosley out of the race, despite picking up a victory on 2 victories. It's going to be a big hit to his point with a non-finish when it comes to this heat.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be quite a hit. It could possibly affect him and getting into that A main. He might end up falling down the order, but I don't think it'll put him in the B main. We'll have to see what happens, but it's going to take a big toll as he was looking to actually start quite far up the field as well.
Well, he was looking for that start, of course. With those inversions, it makes things very tough in terms of trying to pick up those results and get exactly what you want. But very crucially on this, Sanders, though, in control. Wilton, then Romeo in third, Baldwin fourth, and Shannon Jordan rounds out the top 5 for the time being. But very firmly in Sanders' hands. Wilton looking to make that push. And let's, of course, not count out Vince Romeo, who's looked fantastic on that low line. So really, this is a case of this is anyone's ball game with just a handful of laps remaining. They know that they've got to go at it, and there's the early pull as they get the green going, and Sanders gets a good run, but it was well scouted. High and into the wall goes Romeo there in third position, and he will drop 2 positions for his troubles, maybe just the one as he's forced high. Wilton, though, looking to fight here with Sanders. Sanders in a very good position at the moment and continues to have his scrap and work on it. He goes low side looking for the lead.
Yeah, Wilton nearly made it work there, but just not quite far up enough on Sanders to get the job done, so you have to slot back in a second. But at the moment, just behind Shannon Jordan and Vince Romeo, still going at it for the minor positions and catching Brady Baldwin, who's just ahead of them.
Yes, and just tagged the wall coming out of 3 and 4 and has to be careful. They fan for 3 wide and going low again. 2 going through. White flag comes out. 1 lap remaining here at Volusia, and almost contact, big contact as they spear over. Jordan will lose a couple of positions, but Wilton just a little bit too far back at the front then from Bradley Sanders, who will end his heat racing with a victory that he so richly wanted. Bradley Sanders wins in heat number 9.
Yeah, good drive from Sanders there to just hold on. He had some very good pace and obviously had a lot of good pace in the past, so really good to put it on the top step of the podium there.
Very good results then. So classified results, Sanders takes the victory over Josh Wilton. Baldwin third, Romeo in fourth, it's Shannon Jordan fifth, Rob Kinnear will get sixth, Rusty Gregory will end up in seventh. Your non-finishers include Trent Gosley there, who will finish off racing there in the 8th position. But some very strong finishes, some very strong results. We're going to bring in Josh Wilton into the conversation from that one. Well, Josh, it's second position, just not able to just get that together come the end. Josh, do we have a copy of you? I assume we do and not at this stage. No matter. We'll bring in Sanders then in for conversation in just a little moment. Bradley, we were going to talk to second, but you know what? We're going to talk to you instead. How was that one then? Just able to hold off Wilton towards the end?
Yeah, I felt a little bit more comfortable in that one. Worked on the setup a little bit and changed a few things, and yeah, it felt a lot more comfortable. Feel more nervous talking to you guys.
Oh, well, I'd take that as a compliment then. You found yourself fifth when it came to the hot laps. You certainly seem to have... Oh, sorry, Wilton found yourself fifth. You found yourself maybe a little higher than that. You found yourself second, so it's definitely got that turn of pace that you need around here. So very much in a strong position now to look towards the next amount of races.
Yeah, I can only look forward to Sunday night and hope for the best, and hopefully we can have a good clean night and finish up into 20 and somewhere.
Well, we'll see if that works for you. Bradley Sanders there picking up the victory. We'll try one more time to pick Josh Wilton into the conversation. Josh, we caught you a little bit off guard, so to speak.
Yeah, sorry about that. Can you guys hear me there now?
Well, you found yourself there in second, just unable to get it done at the end. Had a good look, though, and almost found yourself there, but still some very solid points to take away after some good heat racing.
Yeah, the tracks are pretty tough at the moment. I'm not usually very good here on the best of times, but when it's slick, it makes it definitely a lot harder for myself. But yeah, no, I had a bit of a look there, but just settled for where I was in the end, just to get some points ready for Sunday.
And while looking for points on Sunday, we will see Josh Wilton then comes out of that one in second position. Your second heat of these next set of 3 are going to look as follows. It will be Bomford on the front with Dunn in second. Then there's Parmitter and Reed, Hutchins, Maloney, Price, Callow, Brown, and Mia Ott, who we do not expect to take to the starting grid. But we are seeing here some very good running. Of course, we are unable to bring you a graphic for that one on the fly, but that is something that we will be keeping an eye out on in the next couple of moments. But Cam, just a little lull here as we just slow that pace down and that nerves and those anticipation comes in. Now you're starting to expect of yourself, okay, I've guaranteed a place, but I've still got to race strong and race hard. This is effectively races for fun, but it's also racing for information as well. You want as much information on the drivers around you as possible.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's always good to get it into the feature, but if you can know who you're racing and what they're going to do like the back of your hand, it's always helpful. And then there's also knowing what the track's going to do, which is pretty much probably the most important part of it all, because you don't want to be left out the back door come feature night on the finals night, because it's going to cost you massively, and everybody else is going to be prepared while you're sitting there scratching your head going, I'm not sure what to do, because you're looking at the track and it's completely different to what you're used to.
And this is the thing as well with that finals night on Sunday. The format is ever so slightly different to what we have. So where it would traditionally be 12 lots of heats, which in this case is 11, it's much different. You've got 5 lots of heats that come along in the final. Then you've got the C main, B main, and effectively a B main 2 if needed, before the A main comes along to finish off proceedings. So very much a different kind of night, where this is more a test of endurance. This next race is going to be one of really a test of how quick can you go and how very quickly can you go that quickly. But I was going to hand over to you, but we are pretty much half a lap away from the next heat going green and getting ready to go. Maloney there in 6th position at the back of the inversion. Will be looking to make that push forward. All those drivers, though, want to showcase what they're made of, and it could so easily go wrong for anyone if they're not concentrating. There's the green, and there's the go, and they're going to start pushing forward now as Dunn looking to the outside. He's going to try and get it done on Bomford, who goes way too sideways, and he gets swallowed up into the abyss, and there's more contact there as he gets a piece of Reed. Reed's going to go high. He clips the wall, inside line working, and it's pandemonium in the back.
Yeah, it's all going on for the moment positions. Maloney probably the luckiest out of them all not to end up in any of that contact at all with how close he was. Reed was very lucky not to go over as well. Looking at it, he pretty much was right on the cushion and just a little bit too high, so he was very lucky that he didn't end up in the wall or going over. But yeah, at the moment, look at Maloney just driving through the field. He's already up to P4.
He is up to, well, he's trying to look for P4, so to speak, and he'll try it around the outside. Mistake, losing it a lot. Oh, into the wall he goes, along with Brendan Hutchings there. Hutchings having a little bit of a struggle there. Okay, lead was changed. Darren Parmiter in control. Craig Dunn had a mistake a couple laps ago, and that didn't help. So Maloney there back in 5th position. Matt Reed in 6th. Troy Price there in 7th, but control of the field is Mr. Consistency in terms of this heat racing that we've seen. Darren Parmiter, who has been mid-pack for the first 2, now finally has breath at the front, but Dunn is closing back in, as is Callow. Maloney going high side. It's going to pick up 4th position away from Brendan Hutchings, or is he? Yes, he will, but there is so much time that is being lost at the moment, and Dunn is now breathing down the neck of Parmiter.
Yeah, Dunn's right there and going to be probably looking to try and make a move into the race lead. He's going to go to the high side, try and run it around the outside and get some corner momentum, which is looking like he's done. So he's going to have pretty solid run into turn number 3. Going to go to the high side through turn 3 and 4, while Palmer is going to go to the low side. Dunn's going to have the run around the outside straight into P1.
Well, for the moment, we'll get a good run off the exit. That low line ever so slightly slower as Parmiter cedes the lead then to Craig Dunn. Jackson Callow's had a good run up into 3rd position. Maloney trying to chase us down in 4th. White flag comes out. Battles in the back include Price, Hutchings and Reed, but those are for the minor positions. A little at low side then as Parmiter's going to have to try and stave off Callow, who's gone lower than him as they go through. Well held. It's Dunn who's going to take the flag, but it's a good drag for 2nd, but Callow will nick it on the line ahead of Darren Parmiter. A great showing from him to get to 3rd. Maloney will get 4th. It's Reed in 5th, Hutchings in 6th, and 7th place will go in the end to Troy Price. So a big victory there for Craig Dunn, who picks it up. Callow 2nd, and Darren Parmiter getting 3rd position come the end of that. So Some very, very strong racing. And if I do have things correct, we have Craig Dunn here in the commentary box. Craig, we got you.
Yeah, mate, how are you?
We're doing good, but you're doing better, it seems. A big, big victory. Just talk us through those final stages of that event, having to go around the outside there, really attack, make that position yours, but crucially, defend that position on that final lap also, just knowing that you just had to keep a gap.
Yeah, mate, it was just about finding the right line, just finding where the grip was and taking it from there.
And taking it from there, you do. You've, of course, got yourself guaranteed in your back pocket a ticket to Sunday's final, but you're probably leaving yourself in a really good position now, heading towards the A main that will be coming up, especially with that victory.
Yeah, it should be good, and hopefully we can keep going forward and keep getting.
Hopefully we will see that from you. So Craig Dunn gets it done and ultimately comes out with a very strong result. So Cam, question becomes, everyone seemingly is finding themselves in a different position here and there. Every which way we look, it's like a crystal ball. The clouds of time are passing over and you don't know what to trust and what to control. Who's the favourite?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of the things about dirt racing. It's the track just changes so much that you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you can see someone be quick at the start of the night, but the track can slick off and they'll be nowhere by the end or the other way around. So it's really, really good to see that there's a massive mix-ups in the variety of field, and being with only a 4-car field in this one, a 5-car, sorry, and this one by the looks of it, or 6 actually, make that 7 and 8. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Well, they're multiplying like sheep there, Mr. Dance. So I'd keep your eyes towards the back of the field if I were you. But this field looks like this. It'll be Stewart on the front with Dylan alongside. Then it's Patel, Bowden, Ferris and Hewitt with Cornwall, Vassell and Hartley towards the back of this one. So a very interesting one as the field seemingly doubled in view of Mr. Dance. But we're heading ourselves towards some green flag running very soon. But this is the final chance to almost stretch the legs in terms of points getting, which proves to be vital.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be vital as they are coming around and just about to
there we go.
Green flag. Yeah, and a good jump from Brett Dillon.
Oh, yes, he certainly did. He's got it going, but there's a yellow flag that's going to come out, though, and that is going to bring everyone back into order once again. False start. We'll try that one once more then, as it seemed just on that outside that there was a little of an early push, maybe one way or the other. Worth talking about as well on the front there. There was just looking outside of Harry Stewart, there was Brett Dillon. Dillon went really well, but on the outside of 2, he hit the wall when the yellow came out. So he's got to be a little careful here, Cam, after what seemingly is a little bit of contact.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he's carrying any damage on that car after that bit of a mishap with the outside wall when that yellow flag came out, and whether it's actually going to affect him at all. He may be okay, although have to see, and hopefully he doesn't have any damage because he was shaping up to have a really good race.
He certainly was, but he's got to do it all over again. The final 10-lap race then of the night, but we got a 12 and a 20 that will be coming up very, very soon. There's the green, and they're going to go this time. And again, that outside line working, but a big wiggle, and bang into the wall, and more contact as Dylan struggles to try and get some turn going. They keep it nice and straight, but the inside line is home now to where everyone needs to be as they start fanning out then in the middle. It's Harry Stewart in control, but you can see now big wiggles in the middle as Joel Patel gets 2, 3, 4 bits of contact, and round he goes, and there's the caution.
Yeah, Butel just got pretty much sandwiched and beaten around the bush from pretty much everyone there. Really, unfortunately, presuming he'll have a bit of damage, but looking like he could be stuck in the wall.
He got a tap from Hewitt. He got a secondary tap on the outside from Ricky Cornwall. And then he took a big tap from I believe, Simon Ferris. And that pretty much signalled the end of that one then for him. So he will drop miles back down the order. And I think he's desperately trying to self-right himself at the moment. But essentially, he's like a cow trying to jump over a fence at the moment. He's stuck.
It's an interesting analogy to use. I haven't heard that one before, but yeah, he was was a bit stuck on the outside fence there by the looks of it. It was just a little bit lodged up on the top of the fence, which was really, really unfortunate. So he will be back in pit lane and his race will be over.
It certainly will be over, and that will be a shame for him. He was looking to get some solid points, then continue this. Harry Stewart in control, but it's got the very lightning fast Lewis Hewitt behind. There's Danny Vassell, there's Ricky Cornwall. Both of them will look to try and make some pushes and make some inroads. So guard your inside. That's been the key that we've seen over the start of the racing that we've got as they head themselves around 3 and 4. A big high line trying to make sure that they cannot overtake on that outside as the iRacing rules will represent. Goes down low and goes early. There's the green. And let's get going once again then. And already big high line from Lewis Hewitt, who just tags that indent there in the wall and does run that outside line very nicely, though. There could still be something there right in the back, though. Simon Ferris trying to have his battle here. And Brett Dillon trying to work the low line, but it takes him 2 attempts. And he's going to try and gather it up on the exit. They remain too wide.
Yeah, battle's still going on between those two. They're 2 wide now. There's going to be a third car, Matt Hartley, getting a bit loose just behind them. But at the moment, Lewis Hewitt driving it around the outside of Harry Stewart and taking the lead of this race. Great move, but then just behind Danny Vassell and also Ricky Cornwall going at it for 3rd position.
Ricky Cornwall looking for it low, and at the moment he's got nothing doing as he cannot get the run off the exit. Oh, right in between each other, contact, and both of them managed to hold it nicely, but Cornwall will be at a massive disadvantage, and that will effectively end that one. Dillon and Ferris come together in the background as well as they look to continue their fights, but this strings out the field. Complete control now goes to Lewis Hewitt, who did not make it to hot laps and has been looking to try and put in his times as good as he can. In his first heat, he did a 13.301. He'll be happy with that. But for the time being, at least, he knows that here in this 3rd heat, these times are 1.7 seconds slower than what he was able to do. But he is still walking away with things at the moment. Battle for 3rd still on, though, Vassell and Cornwall.
Yeah, Vassell's just edging out Cornwall at the moment. Cornwall's trying everything he can. It's going to go down to the bottom, but that top side that Vassell's running is still strong, although Cornwall got a very good exit out of turn number 4 and down the front straight. It's going to be right all over the tail tank of Danny Vassell. He's going to go to the inside to try and do a slide job on Vassell. Vassell's still going to hang around the outside, though, and hold on to that position for the time being.
This is the white flag lap, and he tries around the outside, but Vassell holds on again. But it's Lewis Hewitt who's in control and will take the checker in the final heat. Lewis Hewitt in complete domination. Harry Stewart will take 2nd. Danny Vassell 3rd ahead of Cornwall as Boyd Bowden just struggles a little bit there over to the end. Simon Ferris there in 6th, and it will be 7th position for Matt Hartley with 1 non-finisher. So Lewis Hewitt picking up a fantastic result then by his standards. He gets exactly what he was looking for. 2nd place then went to Harry Stewart, who will be very happy with the way that run went for him. 3rd went to Danny Vassell in all of that, and we will be having the opportunity to speak with him right about now. Danny Vassell, 3rd position for you, and a very strong showing there, especially in the final couple of laps. That outside line worked nicely for you.
Yeah, to do something to make up for the standing on the last one. Pretty disappointed to get upside down, but yeah, that's a good way to bounce back, I suppose.
Well, a good way to bounce back for you. And well, next up for you, we'll be looking at whether you've made B main or A main. The final results will come through on that. So a very, very strong showing as you now look to head yourself over to the next lot of racing. Just how important has it been for you just to pick up consistent points here and there in order to get prepared for Sunday?
Yeah, sort of. It's been the aim to try and finish everything, and yeah, unfortunately getting upside down put me on the 8 ball, but yeah, hopefully we clawed back some points in that one and try and get a good starting spot for them.
Well, we'll see if that good result comes to you. So, Mr. Vassell, that is a 3rd position that he's able to get in that final heat there that we've got. We're gearing up now towards that B main as we're just going to take maybe a minute just to see how this one is going to play out. We'll be back incredibly shortly at the moment here with Forever Sim Racing and the great racing that will continue as we head towards the B main. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Forever Sim Racing's coverage of the Wing Sprint 410 Australian Nationals, brought to you by Wilton Racing. We are not going to have a B main, but we're going to have a massive A main. It didn't make much sense to have 8 cars in a B main, but it's going to be a very interesting A main at the front of the field, because they find themselves looking for control as much as they possibly can. So looking towards the front of that field, you got the likes of Shannon Jordan, Sanders there, everyone just trying to make that push and showcase exactly what they've got as they look to get forward. A lot of drivers deciding that it's time, that they didn't want to take part, so we got ourselves a good 25, 26 drivers who are all looking to make that push. So Maloney decided he didn't want to race. Hewitt decided he'd had enough, as they now look to get going. So this is the bragging rights. This is who can take themselves then into the next section. We will be going green 1 lap from now. Cam, just very quickly, a few drivers saving their true pace then for the finals. An interesting ploy.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting to see the likes of Hewitt and Maloney and a few others save their pace for the finals night. I would not be surprised if they're doing it just to sort of not quite give their fellow competitors a bit of a hint on what they've got up their sleeve. But nevertheless, it's a competitive field that we've got on track at the moment, and there's going to be no surprise. We're going to be in for one heck of a show, because that top 8, if not top 10, is very, very stacked.
It certainly is. It's double distance. It's 20 laps, and there's the green. And let's get ourselves going then. We are underway at a great start there as Wilton tries to get the push, and he gets the whole shot that he wants. Sanders second, done there in third. It's Jordan fourth and Hutchings fifth as Parmiter finds himself in 6th position. Down low and high, they all look as they go through. 3 wide in the middle, 1 man in the middle. Does not look brilliant as there's a bit of contact and someone seemingly hits the DC button as he cannot go through. Wide and sideways goes Hutchins, and there's the yellow.
Yeah, a couple of cars involved in that, just further back, and very easy to do with so many cars around you. It's just so hard, and if you do get caught up and everybody's so close, you just have all sorts going on, unfortunately.
All sorts that do go on, but some very, very solid running there to start as Sanders has control over Wilton. It's done in third, Jordan fourth, Reed fifth, Gosley up to 6th. 7th position at the moment being currently held by Darren Parmiter, who will move up a little bit forward. And you've got the likes of Stewart in there, Kinnear, Ferris trying to make some pushes. So these drivers have all shown they have a turn of pace, and they are very much even to each other. There is no runaway at the moment in this field, it has to be said. So these drivers know a good start really sets them up instead for the next lot of running.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sanders obviously got a very, very good run off that start and has put himself in the lead. So he'll be in prime position to get a very solid result in the same main for a bit of bragging rights. But like we've seen, Wilton, Dunn, Jordan, Reed, Parmiter, Stewart and Gosley have all done very, very well in their heats. So it's anybody's guess as to who could possibly win this.
Well, everyone knows they've just got to get going. It's a single file restart, of course, then. And the likes of, say, Sanders and Wilton have done 61 and 62 laps, respectively. Talk about Craig Dunn. Maybe he's got a little less under his tank. He's done 59 total laps throughout the entirety of all of this. So, power to all of you as they will go green this next time by. Cam, just able to have maybe a more aggressive start. The field is maybe triple or quadruple what they were expecting to be running compared to the heat. So they've got a lot on their plate here against each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And single file restart as well. So there's probably going to be a little bit less stress on all the drivers having to sort of watch out for someone who's beside them on the restart or someone getting caught up in the slick. They'll all just be able to go single file straight down to the bottom and get a very good run if they possibly can.
And looking for that good run, they will do. Pace behind Bradley Sanders. There's the green and there's the go. And in 5th position is where you need to look, because there was one certain driver. And instantly already Sanders running into troubles. He's able to gather it up together, but just like that on the inside wall, he falls himself back down the pack. A good double, and into the wall goes Wilton this time. So now the inside, they're seemingly being too aggressive here, and that allows Craig Dunn on the high line to now take control of this race as they're 3 wide for second, and Reed's in the wall.
Yeah, everybody trying to find a bit of racetrack, that low side. Everybody's taking the risk of running it because it's quicker, but it's so easy to hit that inside wall and spin yourself up. Like we said with Sanders, as he's in the wars again with, I believe that was Matt Reed down the front straight. There were three
there's a car
wide
over.
with Ricky Cornwell, and his car
Romeo.
over.
Romeo's gone up and over, and that will be the yellow as he now finds himself trying to play high jump. And unfortunately, Vince, you haven't quite cleared that bar, so we'll give you 2 more attempts to see if you can clear it. But ultimately, it is a second caution that's come out, and that was wild. Drivers got very, very aggressive very, very quickly, and the mistakes showed because they were all looking every which way to try and get something.
Yeah, absolutely. And as the tracks start to sicken off, it's really become a big challenge for a lot of drivers. As you can see that, obviously, trying to run that bottom, you do have the risk of clipping that inside wall if you're a little bit too aggressive, and then just jumping that outside cushion ends you up in the wall. So really, really difficult racetrack at the moment, and it's looking like it's starting to take its toll at the moment.
It is starting to take that toll, and everyone knows and they understand that they've got to just make sure that they are in prime position to keep on pushing and making these results the way that they want to. Dunn in control, Wilton second, Jordan third, then it's Stewart and Parmiter, your top 5. Trent Gosley is up into 6th, Ricky Cornwell 7th, Matt Reed has dropped to 8th after those 2 or 3 hits he had. Ferris in 9th, and Danny Vassal's made good progress. He's up inside the top 10 now. Some of your big losers include Jackson Callow, who had to get a few things cleared. He's right towards the back, but there is a lot of positions to try and be gained, and a good few drivers have already been seen gone from this stage of the race. So keep an eye on this. We are going green this time by, and it will be Craig Dunn in complete control of that. So a little bit of a shaky start, so to say, but it could so easily change in the blink of an eye. So through the left-hander, they go. In fact, they're all left-handers, so that just shows you how tired I am. So they go through 3 and 4. Dunn in control. He waits high and he dives down low, and there's the green and there's the go, and immediately he's got himself 4 or 5 car lengths that he's got as an advantage. Jordan thinks the low line works, but that high line's starting to come back into fruition there as Harry Stewart now in 4th, Gosley in 5th, and Parmiter trying his desperateness to stay in 5th, but big contact for Ricky Cornwell. He tags the wall.
Really, really high up against the cushion there for Ricky Cornwell, just jumping the cushion and tagging the wall a little bit as we've got another yellow.
It's in the back, and it's Tristan Yelland who's turned around, which is not ideal. That was the contact there with Troy Price, so he gets in, bang, and both of them go sideways. It is Yelland who ends up being turned around and gets another bump for the troubles, so that's another few laps we will spend under caution, 3 in a row. These guys need to cool it down a little bit. This is only for bragging rights. They're not getting points for this, remember, and they only want to showcase that they can race. Yes, they've all made it to the final night, but really, they need to get themselves just a little bit cleaner if they want to see success on that final night.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's if you can keep your head cool in this sort of condition where the track's very slick and it's easy to make a mistake, you're going to be very, very set on finals night, like you said. So really got to keep, these guys have really got to keep their calm and just cool it down a little bit and just try and get some laps in the book.
Those laps in the book that we'll be keeping a very strong eye out on at the moment as they all look to make their pushes and show what they're capable of. But really, Cam, it has to be said, this is all about now who can keep their cool and who is going to lose it under the lights, because for the moment at least it seems that these drivers are all looking to make some pushes as I hand over a little bit of free rein to you because I'm having a few technical issues of my own at the moment.
Yeah, we've just gone green, so perfect timing for that to have actually happened. So Craig Dunn with a great start now, and Joshua Wilton, not too bad of a start either, running the top side. Everybody fanning out in the further back of the field, looking like everybody's got through pretty cleanly, but at the moment, front of the field, Joshua Wilton round the outside doing a massive job to try and close that gap up to Craig Dunn, who's trying all sorts of lines. And now Wilton has got a very good run on the exit of turn number 2. He's going to go on the inside of turn number 3, do a slide job to the top side of the racetrack, try and get the run on the exit, and it's looking like he's going to get the job done. But Craig Dunn's going to come back and through turn number 1 and 2, but Wilton on the high side going to drive around the outside and take the lead of the race.
He's going to try and, for 5th position, Trent Gosley finds a way through on Harry Stewart. So great moving and shaking then as they start looking to pick positions up one at a time. The top 3 starting to run away with this. Dunn versus Wilton at the front. These two are looking to showcase what they've got, and Dunn again going low. Wilton again running that high line. Yellow for the 4th time as there's a car over on the top. That was Brett Dillon who was turned over. He was running himself very nicely through 3 and 4. He gets a huge wiggle, and then down the inside, he just takes a tap, and he's into the wall. It's Troy Price for the 2nd time, but this time, Price, you have to say, innocent bystander. He had nowhere to go on that high line.
Yeah, he really didn't have anywhere to go. It was a really unfortunate set of circumstances there, as Dylan was all over the place, just got very, very loose, and the car was all over the place, and just unfortunate for Price there, he had nowhere to go, like you said.
Yep, nowhere to go. And, well, sometimes when you have nowhere to go, the only way is out. And that seems to be the case then, as a 4th caution comes out here at Volusia Speedway in your A main. So these drivers just need to find a little bit of momentum. They almost need to be like wrestler Tetsuya Naito. They need to be tranquilo here around this track. They need to just stay calm, because they know that they've had some good runnings, and we saw that in that little stint there at the front, that those drivers were calm. Great battling between Wilton and Dunn, just showing you how even the 2 lines are, and really, it depends now on where do you think the grip is, because I think the 2 grip lines are almost dead even.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, the top side's got a little bit more grip, but we are green again, and a good jump from Wilton there as well to get straight to the lead of the race. But now Shannon Jordan and Trent Gosley just behind Craig Dunn for 3rd and 4th, going at it. Looks like Trent Gosley going around the outside, but Jordan trying to go to the top side, and it's looking like that top side's pretty quick at the moment.
It certainly does, but into the wall goes Gosley. He hits the inside of the pit exit, and that's going to cost him 2 positions potentially. He's going to still fight it out, though, with Harry Stewart on the outside. Danny Vassell trying to stay in tow, but ultimately that inside line, there's probably a little bit of damage, and into the wall now goes Stewart. So now they fight it 3 wide. The battle in front of them starts to heat up as Jordan's under pressure from Ricky Cornwall. Big wiggle there as he clips the wall, and Ricky Cornwall says, "Thank you very much. I'll take what is going to be 3rd position." Hartley's lap traffic has got to stay on that outside, and he's gone and done just enough there to avoid the 5 that were going through. Yellow flag comes out, though. 1 is over on in trouble. Patel takes a tap for his troubles as well, and that's Simon Ferris, who his day is now done as well.
Yeah, looks like they were 3 wide. Simon Ferris, Jackson Keller, and Darren Parmenter by the looks of it. Ferris unfortunately just got caught up in a bit of an incident with Parmenter, who got loose on the exit of turn number 4 by the looks of it. So really unfortunate, and that is a massive, massive shunt for Simon Ferris there.
It's more than just that there, because despite that mistake, it was the case that Callow was very slow off the exit that checked Ferris up. Ferris got a super run coming through 4, and it was the fact that it was a checkup that got Ferris into that incident, which will hurt, because he will feel like that he did everything right in that situation. He backed it off, which you don't often get the chance to do, but ultimately, it's more laps off the board for Dunn, who is in 2nd position. Joshua Wilton in complete control. 5 laps to go when they take the restart. Josh Wilton now just thinking about, okay, it just needs to be quick, and we just need to get going. We need to go quick and really, really efficiently too. It's just a 5-lap sprint. They've done 15 of the laps. Cornwall, Jordan, Gosley, Vassell, Stewart, Callow up there, all looking to find 1 more position. Who can take bragging rights away from this A main? And what a start from Wilton as he goes. Dunn is left in the dust as Cornwall finds himself in 3rd. Shannon Jordan tries low. Gosley trying to look high, and he's not going to find anything then as they start pushing it over towards the next set of corners. And now it just seems for the moment that those lines are trading again. 4 laps to go. And now looking at this one here, Dunn again trying that low side, but not getting much traction off the exit. It's a case of work yourself into position, Cam. And I think Dunn's trying everything, and he's got himself alongside.
Yeah, he's just not quite got it done, but on board with Ricky Cornwall filling in 3rd position. He's running that top side, and you can just see that Dunn is just there or thereabouts, and he's not quite got the bottom running, but we've got another yellow for an incident, I believe, turn 1.
Well, it's number 6 that we found, and That one not ideal at all. So we'll just take it back and see exactly who got caught out in all of that. It seemed to happen very late in the pack. And it seems that everything just about did okay. It was Shannon Jordan, actually. I believe the yellow was for, because Jordan there was fighting with Trent Gosley. Those two came together, and right on the outside of 2 was Shannon Jordan. Nowhere to go. Innocent bystander, potentially, but a little case of 2 into 1 means there's only just a few popsicle sticks and maybe a little bit more in terms of our lap times.
Yeah, not going to be much left in this race now with how many laps they just completed, and by the looks of it, it's really going to be all about trying to maximize your restart and trying to gain as many positions as you can with these few laps remaining.
Don't get too desperate right now. You know that if you get it right now, you can have it all for yourself. If you don't get it right now, you can never get it back later. That much you can tell, but Joshua Wilton has been just ticking off the laps, just making sure he's getting good restarts and keeping a good cushion to Craig Dunn behind. Ricky Cornwall there in 3rd position. We were on board with Gosley involved in that last instant up to 4th. Vassal 5th, Stewart 6th, Callow 7th, Yelland 8th, Reed 9th, and Parmenter in 10th. As we go green, and one vehicle really struggles off the start and drops a whole handful of positions there from about 7th position. I think that was Stewart. 3 to the outside, 2 to the bottom. And at the moment, it seems that it is complete breakaway there for Joshua Wilton, who is running away with it. Big mistake there. White flag down in onto the lane. Goes Dunn. His day is done as he hit the inside retaining wall. So now Cornwall up into 2nd with white flag out, but it will be run away, sir, because Joshua Wilton here will take a big step towards his Sunday push, because he wins here the A main of Friday night semi-finals here at the Australia Nationals, brought to you by Wilton Racing. Brilliant work from Wilton. He picks up the victory. It's Cornwall in 2nd, Gosley 3rd, Vassal 4th, Yelland gets a top 5 through all of it, Callow to 6th, Parmenter to 7th, Jordan 8th, Reed in 9th, and Troy Price will round out the top 10. We are going to bring into conversation then Josh Wilton in just 1 moment's time from that. Josh, it's victory. How do you feel?
Yeah, give me a bit of a confidence booster, but it's still early days. It's pretty tough out there.
Pretty tough. The top 2 then, who managed to score in points, decided they wanted to keep their cards close to their chest. So you're the one who takes the momentum, so to speak, and heads off with another 20 laps worth of experience. So do you feel like you're more suitably prepared than those who didn't take to the start then?
Definitely not. Them guys have done a lot more laps than me.
Well, it's a big victory. You can always pin that up on your chest that you won the A main in night 1 of the semi-finals. How are you feeling about the finals? You've got a day of rest or a day of training, whatever takes your fancy. What are you feeling? What's your modus operandi, so to speak, heading towards tomorrow, and what you're doing tomorrow to prepare for Sunday?
I'll just go back and work on the setup. Still not very happy with how I am at the moment, but I'm sure I can work on it with the team and get something together for the Sunday night.
Well, the stage is all yours. Any shout-outs, any sponsors? This is your platform.
Yeah, firstly, just big thanks to RCF Designs, Sprint Car Parts Australia, Performance Racewear, ODH Mechanical, Fellows Flooring, Murphy Solutions, and all the boys on the team. Yeah, they're all helpful, and they'll help us get the job done. Cheers.
Josh Wilton picking up a mega victory then in the A main. But Cam, let's just talk about that A main for the second as we get Fallout. A very heavy caution-filled race, but one that needed to be controlled from the front. And it was that ability to work well off the restart and keep very much unpredictable was the reason why Wilton was able to pull away.
Yeah, absolutely. The restarts that Wilton had were just absolutely on point, and he got it right every single time, and that helped him on every restart. So really, really good job by Wilton to be unpredictable. And that's one of the things you want to do. You want to make sure you're not giving anyone at your advantage, especially off the restarts. So really, really good job by him.
Well, that will be that then for our coverage here on Forever Sim Racing. But before you go, make sure that you subscribe and like the video to make sure that we see a few more people having a bit more fun. And come back same time, same place tomorrow night, because the second semi-final will be coming into view as Australia's finest come into battle for Sunday night's main event. But a massive thanks to those who get it done. Of course, to the Clint Smith hosted events who put on this fantastic showcase, to the likes of, say, Wilton Racing, who are the main sponsors of what has been going on. That has been some fantastic work. Massive thanks as well in the background to Dougie Beard, who has produced the cameras, Jay Kennedy, who has worked on the graphics package that we have seen, although a little slimmed down to what we have coming up in the future. Massive thanks as well goes to Violet Pony for her music that she was able to produce. Her songs Convergence and Swarm you can find, of course, on the Homeward album. You can catch that out on Spotify and on Bandcamp. But for the time being, that was Brett Wheeler. That also was Cam Dance, and I have been Jake Sperry. And my goodness me, what great racing. Walton takes the initiative, but have the true names just hidden exactly what they've got. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, that we all are forever. Good night.